to fall that wicket and look at Wheater's hand, but still seem to think nothing wrong with it. Well, no, I don't expect he said there's nothing wrong with it. He just probably reassured him that there's nothing broken. And as I said, in relating the incident with my elbow, it might not be broken, but it can still be very, very painful.
7 byes in the innings now, all greatly received by Warwickshire.
And that's outside the off stump. Wheater takes it. And we don't want to labour this Wheater business too much, but you still get the impression that every time he takes the ball, even when he takes it cleanly, it's just adding to his problem, really.
Yeah, it's definitely hurting. You'd think at least they've brought out a painkilling pill for him, but
yes,
I haven't seen him take one. Maybe he did. I didn't see.
I think the laws of the game say that although if he went off, he would be entitled to a 12th man. I'll come back to that after this over. When the ball is played out, a pretty soft dismissal, really, and that was never quite there for the shot, and Henry Brooks just holed out the simplest of catches. Burgess, is it? Oh, even more valuable wicket from the Essex point of view, I beg your pardon. Yes, well, that didn't become a man who's batted really, really well for his 35. He just holed out to Wesley. Wesley takes 2 catches in the same over, one in the slips and one at mid-off. And it was a very disappointing end to what was really a very, very worthwhile and competent innings.
Yes, and so Warwickshire back up against it now, having fought back a little bit. They are still facing the prospect of a very heavy first innings deficit, and he tried to play positively, in fairness to him, Burgess, but didn't quite get that one right, and that's, as you say, a pretty soft dismissal just at the time when Warwickshire needed to rebuild.
So the reintroduction of Siddle to the attack certainly worked. It couldn't have worked better from the Essex point of view, because he got rid of both the batsmen who had taken part in that obdurate stand, which more than doubled the score of 64 for the 6th wicket, and they both go within, well, it's taken it off the scoreboard now, but probably within about 3 or at most 4 balls of each other.
Jitan Patel, the new man in, who normally plays aggressively, although he did prove against Hampshire that he can play a different way, and that rearguard action to save the game, but he might feel that his best policy here is to try and hit a few shots, try and get a few more runs, reduce this first innings deficit as much as possible. Taps gloves of Henry Brooks. It was these two who were together for that century partnership against Hampshire to save the game.
So we have that situation that all fielding sides they look up at the scoreboard and they see that neither batsman has scored a run. Indeed, they've only faced 1 ball between them, and yes, of course, it's Brooks only got to that other end by virtue of a bye. I was wondering how he could have got to the other end without him opening his account, but yes, there was a bye let through, which is why he's now about to face the bowling of Simon Harmer. As another helmet comes on, and it's for Dan Lawrence, who's going to go in at well, I would call that leg slip, being an old-fashioned sort of person, but backward short leg and tender scarter just in front of square, giving it a lot of air, and went by outside the off stump of Brooks. So Essex suddenly back in this game with interest, and that's a certain definite miscue there. Probably looking to push it to the offside, gets a thick inside half of the bat on the ball, and it finishes up squirting out just in front of square on the onside, and Rishi Patel completes the fielding. So it's been an innings of phases. First 4 or 5 phases were very much Essex's. Oh no, the first 3 or 4, and then good resistance and a comeback by Warwickshire, and now losing 2 wickets in the space of 3 or 4 deliveries in the same over means that Essex are very much back in this, and immediately you can see the change in the body language. Harmer moves in, and that's just played with solid defence by Chetan Patel. And Harmer In again, right arm over the wicket. Patel goes forward and again just plays it out to mid-on. Fielded by Nick Brown. Chetan Patel, the Warwickshire captain. So the two best spin bowlers in the country by general consensus are up against each other. Harmer to Patel. I don't know if we had the opposite apply yesterday. I'm not sure if Harmer wasn't there for very long.
No.
So he may not have faced Patel. If I had to say, I'd say he didn't, because I think it was the seamers who were mainly forming the attack at that stage. That's nudged around the corner for certainly a single, and they'll think about a second, but wisely they decide against it, particularly as it happens a very good throw from Beard, comes in right beside the top of the stumps to Adam Wheater, who's rather in the wars of late. End of the over, so Chetan Patel will retain the strike. And interesting, Wheater made a point of stopping and talking with a big smile on his face to Chetan Patel, who in turn said something back and then patted him on the back. So a very affable, amiable exchange. We'll never know what that was about.
You were going about the rules. I think, strictly speaking, they would need permission from
Chetan
Patel
to
field a wicket, which I'm sure they would get, and Warwickshire actually have done that themselves this season, so I don't think it'd be a problem, but they do have to ask.
Yes, it may well have been what Wheater was saying. Look,
Yeah.
look, I'm not feeling too good. If I go off, will you let somebody else keep wicket?
And Chetan Patel said no.
Yes, that's right. I'll let somebody else keep wicket, but it won't be the 12th man. No, Alistair Cooke can keep, or something like that. That would be a sight. So, Peter Siddle moves in and bowls. It probably is Paul Newton's turn, but I just sort of deprived him an over, which I no doubt I will live to regret. And,
if I were him, I'd take 2 off your next game.
Oh, I'm sure. At the very least. That's only 100% interest. That's quite generous for his terms. 2 runs, backward of square on the onside. And well, there are 54 overs gone. Yes, I'm not quite sure how many remain. It doesn't say on the board. Yes, it does. It's 41.5, so there'll be 40 overs after this. So that will, the next session will see us through till tea. That's just played out in the offside. Maybe deep down that's what I meant. I'll leave him at 8 overs before tea.
There's I know there's a long way to go in all the games, but just cannot see how Somerset can win their game at Headingley. Yorkshire 503 for 7. So the best Somerset can hope for, you would think, is a high-scoring draw.
Yes.
So this is a real opportunity for Essex to get within touching distance of Somerset.
It is. Siddle to Chetan Patel. And there's a run of some sort, and it's going to be a leg by, indicated by the umpire.
Oh no, I don't think he did. I think he asked a square leg umpire. Did he indicate leg by? I think the square leg umpire might have told him. He seemed to me to be asking the square leg umpire, who may have said, no, it came off something. Siddle saying, hang on a minute, that's a leg by. To which I hope the umpire is saying, that's not your job, mate.
That's right. I'm glad you said that. I've often said that. Yes, you do your job, I'll do mine, and we'll get on fine. You carry on bowling, I'll carry on adjudicating, and never the twain shall meet. Sun makes a brave attempt to come out, as Siddle moves in and bowls. Oh, and that, well, had there been a very short leg, it would have been the simplest of catches, but similarly, if somebody had fielded that close, it would have been a little bit unwise. Henry Brooks on strike, and well, it was Rishi Patel who fielded the ball, but had to make a lot of ground in to do it. He was another 30 yards back.
No further success for Notts after those 3 early wickets. A Surrey 56 for 3 lead by 180.
Siddle moves in, bowls. And a bit of a flash out. Well, no, not exactly a flash, but he was looking for the drive to the covers, and he wasn't really there to the pitch of the ball, and no, hit a lot of fresh air, not much else. In fact, he wasn't even close enough to the bat, to the ball, to cause great excitement amongst the slips. He missed it by a country mile.
He could have driven a bus between his body and the bat.
Yes, exactly. Mind the gap, as they say on the London Underground. And Siddle moves in and bowls. And that's just pushed out the offside. No addition to score. Other underground transport systems available. End of the over. And Warwickshire 132 for 7 after a few more words from Clive. He'll be joined until tea time by Paul Newton.
Well, Warwickshire made a battle of this session, but they're still well behind in the game. It's 113 now. Said they might regret the sort of 20 or 30 runs that they let Essex get at the end of the innings, and they dropped a couple of catches. But at the moment, well, I suppose I said next target's 200. Let's go a little bit shorter than that. So next target's to make sure the deficit is in double figures rather than triple figures. They need another 14 runs to do that. 132 for 7. Jitan Patel just adjusting his clothing as he prepares to face Simon Harmer. And what have we got? We've got a slip, a leg slip, quite a wideish leg slip, and a short leg. Gives up plenty of air harmony, and it comes off the inside of Jitan Patel's battle, low trajectory to that fielder at short leg, who stopped it. And there is no addition to the score. Rob back in as Harmer bowls. Quicker ball this time, comfortably defended by Jitan Patel. England are on their way, 1 without loss after 3 balls, chasing 242 to beat New Zealand and win the World Cup for the first time.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Certainly, I think they've settled for that.
That one is going down the leg side. That being in the World Cup, it would have been called a wide, but it's taken by the wicketkeeper. There's no run. It is remarkable really that England have never won the World Cup. The first 5 World Cups, their record wasn't bad. They got to at least a semi-final every time, 3 finals, but can never quite win it. And in recent years, their record's been atrocious. Patel clips that one to mid-wicket for no run. Yeah,
it's curious that they end up needing almost exactly the same score as they did to beat Australia on Thursday.
Yes, my slight worry is it's similar also to what New Zealand defended against India.
Good point, very good point.
Harmer loops that one up. It's defended by Patel.
On the other hand, Clive, New Zealand were greatly indebted to the rain that came, and sort of came back the following day and were able to bowl in 10:30 conditions. True. And had India 5 for 3. Yeah. As long as England are up 5 for 3, I think they'll probably get it.
Yeah. Patel plays that to long on for a single. Patel, of course, New Zealand international, and he was in the squad for the last Champions Trophy, but having sort of come out of county cricket, which he loves his work with Warwickshire, and he made himself available for the Champions Trophy and been selected and then not played in a single match, he felt it was time to call it a day as far as international cricket was concerned and concentrate on his county cricket. I'm sure he'll be watching with interest. He'll be in a minority in the Warwickshire changing room if they get to watch the closing stages at the end of today or during tea.
Peter Siddle to continue from the Hayes close end, where, having been brought out back into the attack after quite a long time out of it, he removed both the partners in a very good 6-wicket stand for Warwickshire.
Siddle bowls. Again, bowling with some pace. Patel, I think, bat onto pad's got it out to mid-wicket. He will get a run for it. That takes him to 2. Warwickshire still in some trouble. At 134 for 7. Batting has been difficult at times for Warwickshire this season. They have been bowled out for less than 200 on 3 occasions this season, albeit 2 of them were in one match, in fairness. Siddle bowls, and he's appealing for an LBW here. Was it bat onto pad? But anyway, it's not out.
Looked a bit leg side to me by the time it would have gone through. Off cutter.
Warwickshire's lowest total was a pretty abject performance against Hampshire at Edgbaston when they were bowled out for 109. A bit more excusable at Taunton on an awful pitch when they were bowled out for 135 in the second innings. And then Well, I've 135 in the first, 189 in the second, but that was only about 50 runs short of victory. Siddle bowls, and that's solidly played this time by Brooks to mid-on. Sun now shining. Bright sunshine. Not that there's any other type of sunshine really, but it's it doesn't last very long actually. About the time it took me to describe it, it's just tucking in behind a cloud.
Yeah, it's been a sort of nondescript type of a day really, not wet but very heavily cloudy.
Driven by Brooks from Siddle's bowling. Siddle feels it and thinks, can I throw the ball onto the non-striker's end and get Chetan Patel in trouble? Patel was wise to the danger, and there's no run. Warwickshire now, I guess, will be beginning to think, can we get to tea without any further mishap?
Yeah, no reason why, provided that they play watchfully, why they shouldn't get the score up towards 200.
This one is a bouncer which Brooks rather lost and sort of tried to duck under, very nearly ducked into it. He's quite lucky that it missed him.
You're right, because he's a big man, and as you say, it wasn't convincing the way that he sort of went down there at all, but thankfully he remains intact.
One more ball this over to face. 134 for 7, replying to Essex's 245. It doesn't sound a good score. It's not a good score, but bear in mind they were 33 for 4 at one stage, so at least they got something on the board. Siddle bowls, and Brooks, I think, took a rather belated decision to get his bat out of the way when he manages it. And another teasing over from Peter Siddle, but he said that England would win as long as they went 5 for 3. Well, they're 5 without loss, so as long as they don't lose 3 wickets now without any further addition, yes, we're okay.
Yes, certainly I would slightly elaborate on that and say after 10 overs, if they're no worse than 1 down, I think they ought to have seen off the worst of the danger. And New Zealand...
That's a bit of a backtrack, isn't it?
Oh, well I've been backtracking for the last decade, Clive. It's very necessary to be able to do so, I think. But yeah, you know, I think the win over India had everything to do with getting 3 guys at the top of their game who've been having wonderful tournaments all back in the hutch, you know, within 4 or 5 overs.
Yeah. Simon Harmer then, again renewing hostilities with Chetan Patel, and Patel plays forward, the ball squirts out to that shortish leg, and there's a leg slip. And an orthodox slip. Patel at the moment playing very much within himself, just wanting to eke this innings out as much as possible. He lets that one go, but down the leg side. Well taken by Adam Wheater. Well, I think I've probably called David quite a lot today, so apologies for that. I think he's a footballer. I think he played for Barnsley anyway. I always get me footballers and cricketers mixed up. Always when I do Northants, Rob Keogh gets called Richard at least one point during the day. That's defended out to the offside. There's no run.
It might have been, it probably was Barnsley, it might have been Middlesbrough, I thought.
Yes, that rings a bell, yeah. Anyway, this is Adam Wheater, keeping wicket bravely with a sore hand. That one's a forward defensive by Patel.
Yeah, Wheater looks comfortable enough against a spin, or when Harmer's bowling in other words, but clearly has a problem when the quicker bowlers are on.
Harmer in again, loops that up, that's clipped nicely by Patel off his toes, but well fielded by Nick Brown. Tumbling stop prevents what would have been probably just 1 run, as a man in the deep who would have picked it up. Harmer comes into bowl. Let's play back. I suppose we have to put that, make a note now. It's Brown +1 now on the as you get in the World Cup analysis in terms of runs saved in the field. That's a maiden for Harmer, and it's 134 for 7 Warwickshire.
So Essex currently still 111 in front. Warwickshire with the 3 wickets left to eat into that 111, and basically all Essex in the early stages. Warwickshire 33 for 4 and 62 for 5. But then that very good partnership that more than doubled the score, between Tim Ambrose and Michael Burgess before they both went pretty consecutively to Peter Siddle, who has 3 wickets to his name. Harmer, in his usual long spell, hasn't actually bowled anything like at his best since lunch, and had a couple of overs where he went for 2 boundaries in each of them. There were consecutive overs as well. Bowled a better line and length since then. We're now going to see what I think is a good idea, and that is the introduction of a bat pad. Ryan Tenderscouter dumps the helmet because Brooks did pop one up in that area a couple of overs ago.
And Peter Siddle comes herring in once more. Brooks solidly behind that, plays it back to the bowler. He does pick up the ball, fields the ball very elegantly off his own bowling. Does Peter Siddle, picks it up very cleanly. And
did. I mean, that was a great bit of cricket you described in the previous over, where a straight drive was hit back to him. Now, he did well to field it at all, but not only did he pick it up cleanly, he sort of angled his body in such a way that he could see whether the non-striking batsman had backed up at all. OK, he hadn't, so he kept hold of the ball.
In comes Siddle. Oh, that's going to go to the bat pad. That's worked a treat. Chest high, Henry Brooks fends it off, and he is caught there at the bat pad position, and Warwickshire lose their 8th wicket, and they're still a long way behind at 134 for 8.
Well, I think the indication was there. I was a little bit surprised there wasn't a bat pad there in the first place for Henry Brooks in the one a couple of overs ago from Peter Siddle. That would have been just such an easy catch had Tenderscouter been there. Strangely, he didn't immediately put one there, but the over after the next one from Siddle, if I can put it that way, in other words, about 4 overs later in total, he put himself there, and he was rather standing there with a big notice in the hand, son. He was much deeper at the bat pad than he'd normally field, and it just popped up, and he'd all the time in the world. He didn't react particularly quickly to it, but it certainly paid off in the way that it looked as if it probably would do, because Siddle knows how to bowl to a field there. The first ball was pitched up, so Brooks came forward, played it comfortably, but the next one was the one, got up quite sharply, and Brooks, who didn't look too happy when the ball was shorter, duly popped it up for Tenderscouter to take the catch. 134 for 8, and Essex are still 111 in front.
Last 3 wickets all to Peter Siddle, who now has 4 in the innings. As Ollie Stone marches out. Again, a perfectly accomplished number 10. Batted well in the first innings against Hampshire, was ludicrously used as a night watchman, and lasted 1 ball in the second. But, well, it's a question of what can Warwickshire eke anything out? As I say, they've still got a bit of work to do to get the deficit into double figures. And unfortunately, after that resistance, that stand of 64 for the 6th wicket, they've lost 3 wickets for 8 runs. And staring down the barrel once again. So they will be saying, keep it up, Surrey. Surrey at 71 for 3 now, leading Notts by 195.
And the way things are going for Nottinghamshire, Surrey could declare now and almost certainly still win.
Yeah, I hope they don't though. In comes Siddle. Still he's kept the bat pad man in there, but Ollie Stone ducks under that one. Adam Wheater takes it, tries not to grimace, and that's a signal by the umpires, 1 for the over. Can Warwickshire somehow find another, as Essex did, another 30 or 40 runs for the last couple of wickets and try and get this deficit down a bit? The bonus point looks a long way off at 66 more required.
Capable of giving the ball a good biff if he ever gets hold of one on his stone.
Yes, and he just turns that one round. Well, I'm slightly surprised they haven't taken a run there. I'm sure they didn't turn the run down. It's just a case of not thinking there was a run there. So he played that through mid-wicket, and there's no run. He's a reasonably capable batsman. Still to Gamoli Hannon Dolby, who's a sort of number 11 who can hang around, doesn't really score many runs, but he can hang around a bit. I imagine whoever's with him when he comes in will then really go for it. Siddle bowls, and that's pushed back to him by Stone. Siddle practices his association football skills and doesn't look terribly good at it.
No, on that occasion he let you down from your earlier statement, because it didn't work, the trick of flicking it up off the boot. So 134 for 8, and once again Essex have demonstrated here at Chelmsford, where they're 5 out of 5 this season coming into this game, that even when they have an undistinguished spell, which they did after lunch, they still somehow manage to keep taking wickets.
Siddle bowling, and that's played down short of that bat pad by Stone. Played it well, but the applause for Siddle. Successful over for him, and Warwickshire are 134 for 8.
Superb figures for Peter Siddle. 15 overs, 7 maidens, 4 for 23. And runs per over from his bowling, 1.5. And that's the sort of economy rate you associate with Simon Harmer, the country's leading wicket taker. But he actually has had rather a poor session by his very, very high standards since lunch. He was very economical up to it, but has had his moments, a little spell where he kept pitching it outside leg stump, and bearing in mind it was going to turn even further away, a few of the Warwickshire batsmen helped themselves.
Harmer bowls a quicker ball defended. England 16 without loss, so according to Rob Newton, you might as well hand them the World Cup trophy now.
Paul Newton, yes.
Paul Newton, sorry, Paul Newton. Sorry, Paul.
You're thinking, there was a cricketer, wasn't there? Rob
Yes,
Newton,
I know.
Northamptonshire, yeah. Born in Chelmsford,
I really should
funnily enough.
distinguish people with similar names, shouldn't I? Harmer comes into bowl, and that's played onto the onside. There's no run.
Well, I hope I'm right, but certainly for me, the danger against New Zealand is that new ball, good bowlers.
Harmer over the wicket, bowls. Patel plays that to shortish square leg. And a leg slip, shortish leg still. Warwickshire at the moment struggling to score runs as well as losing wickets. Harmer in, and Patel defends it onto the onside.
One thing I think is true, Clive, is that England will never have a better chance than this to win the
well, I thought that at the start of the tournament, to be honest, which is why I was sticking to my prediction that England would win it.
Because they have at last learnt, the parameters you can go to in 50 over cricket.
And this one, Patel defends. I think the point is that they're a good side now, and with home advantage, you'd feel. I mean, you can never be certain, because when you get to a semi-final or a final, it's on the day, isn't it? So you can never be certain. But I always felt that England should be capable of winning it this time. Still some way to go, but they're looking good at the moment. Harmer, Essex looking good. Quicker ball. Patel opens the face of the bat, pushes out to the offside, but couldn't quite get it wide of the fielder, and there's no runs. Another maiden over, so Harmer may not be taking piles of wickets, but he ain't conceding too many runs either. At the moment, he did have that little spell when Burgess in particular got after him, but Patel is doing no more than keeping him out, and it's 134 for 8.
Just going back to the World Cup situation, there is a very substantive difference between the partnership I saw at the start of the World Cup when it was 60 overs and England had Boycott and Brearley opening, and they actually put on 140, and you'd say, well, that's not too shabby, but the trouble is they took most of the innings to make them 40 and needed about 280 to win. 40 overs they took up, and now of course you've got Brearley and Roy of a very different sort of players.
Yes. Siddle thundering in. Oh, that's a bit of bounce there, and it's caught by, and it's out. It's caught by Wheater, one-handed at second attempt, and a rising delivery just got the glove or the top of the bat, and Wheater takes the catch, and Stone has gone, and it's 134 for 9.
And Peter Siddle has his 5-wicket haul here. Quite superb bowling. Bear in mind Essex are without Jamie Porter, so he took the mantle of the leader of the attack. 15.1 overs, 7 maidens, 5 for 23. But what we very nearly saw there, Clive, I mean, you wouldn't get an easier catch for a wicket-keeper, but you wouldn't get a wicket-keeper who's in such pain, out there. And Adam Wheater, who's been struggling since Nick Brown throw took him on the end of the fingers, I think, of the right right glove, and he was trying to protect one hand there, and eventually took it at the second attempt, and it almost didn't stick second time either. So that injury could have cost Essex dear, but Stone goes instead, and Peter Siddle has a fine 5-wicket haul.
He does. He's made the difference. I thought he bowled pretty well at the top of the innings.
Yeah.
He got 1 wicket for it, but Warwickshire have, I'm afraid, collapsed here after that mid-innings resistance. The last 4 wickets now have gone for 8 runs. That's a pretty miserable total. And Ollie Hallen-Dorby comes out with still 5 balls of the over to face. I wouldn't put money on him surviving this, if I'm honest. Not that he's not capable, but Siddle is clearly causing the Warwickshire lower order all sorts of problems, and it'll be a good effort from Ollie Hallen-Dorby to survive the over.
Yeah, you're quite right. It will take some doing, and Siddle bowling quite beautifully, but certainly at the point where Warwickshire still had only 5 down and the partnership had put on 64, Essex for some time had not really looked like getting a breakthrough, but I think it was always going to be the case that if anyone could, with Harmer looking a little bit out of sorts through the afternoon session, Peter Siddle was the man who'd been sparingly used up to that point by Ryan Ten-Descarter. Just the 1 spell in the morning and 2 or 3 overs only immediately after lunch. But since he's come back, I mean, he's picked up all the 4 wickets that have fallen subsequently.
I don't think Ollie Hallen-Dorby, I'm sure, enjoys his cricket, but I don't think he's loving this now, the situation he's in. But anyway, 4 slips, and there's a couple of fielders going to catching positions on the leg side. That's a bouncer. It's so high that it's been called no ball. It goes over Ollie Hallen-Dorby's head. He's able to scamper to the non-striker's end and take a bye. So that'll be 3 runs onto the total in total, and Ollie Hallen-Dorby off the strike. So that's a bit of a bonus for him. 137 for 9.
And Adam Wheater, again, having saved that from going for 4, recoils in pain. Be interesting to see if he can bat in the second innings. It's his right hand that appears to be the problem, and he actually caught at the second attempt Ollie Stone in that right hand, but clearly it hurt so much getting to it the first time round, even though it just looped up off the glove, that he only just managed to catch it on the rebound as well. So it's been a game effort from Wheater to see this innings out.
Well, the field's spreading out now. They're inviting Jitan Patel to take a single. I wouldn't be too surprised if he took that invitation. But anyway, Siddle comes in to bowl, and he does exactly that. Interesting. It does mean that Ollie Hallen-Dorby, having thought he'd got to safety, still has 3 balls of the over to go, but there's not that much to choose between Jitan Patel and Ollie Hallen-Dorby, so he might as well take the run. 137 for 9.
Ten-Descarter as ever, popping up in the course of an innings, virtually every possible fielding position except the slips. There was a deep backward point to receive that single, and he often appears to attract the ball to him. Of course, he was under the helmet taking the catch a couple of wickets ago.
138 for 9 to be precise, as Siddle comes in, and Hallen-Dorby, has he nicked that? No. Siddle's convinced he has. He's trying to get his bat out of the way. Siddle is absolutely convinced that it did brush something, but Ollie Hallen-Dorby stays where he is, and the umpire says not out.
Yes, I must admit I didn't sense that he'd hit that. Doesn't mean I'm right, but certainly it was one of those which you often see in the business of this job, where sometimes you think somebody has nicked it and they haven't, and then there are times it never occurs to you that they have, and on occasion a decision is given, but I didn't feel he'd hit that.
I wasn't entirely sure the slip cordon were that convinced either. Siddle was. He comes into bowl now. That's left by Hallen-Dorby, taken by Wheater. We'll love this innings to end as soon as possible now, I think, Adam Wheater.
I often refer to the slip cordon as the RADA school, because, there was a classic case this morning of where the ball came straight out of the middle of the bat, and there was this immediate reaction, as the batsman had been incredibly lucky to survive. So it is, all the counties do it. They are primed to try and make the batsman feel that his tenure at the crease is going to be very short.
Of course, 2 balls left, because one was a no ball. That one is played out by Hallandorby into a gap. He'll get some runs here, and Warwickshire will be grateful for whatever runs they can get now, and he gets 2, takes them to 140. That brings me to my new rule when I run cricket, my new law. I would give the batting team the right to decline the extra ball if a no ball or a wide is bowled. Because Ollie Hallandorby probably doesn't really want to face this one now from the no ball. So since it's Essex that were guilty of the no ball, the batting team should be allowed to say no, we don't want it. As it happens, Hallandorby's clipped it to mid-on, and he thinks, I'm going to keep the strike because I'm such a good batter, and I'm going to get to that end. And he moves on to 3, 141 for 9. So Warwickshire did get a few runs out over, actually. 3 from the no ball. Scoring next. I suppose that goes down to 2 no balls and a bye, doesn't it, that 3? And then they got, I think, was it 3 runs off the bat as well? So they're 141 for 9.
Plus the run to Patel.
Yeah.
So, 7 off the over altogether. 141 for 9, and Warwickshire will yet keep the deficit down to double figures, and who knows maybe how much further they might be able to reduce the deficit, assuming there is one. At the moment they're 104 behind. You'd think they'd definitely trail on first innings, and by quite a few, but it would be a nice psychological fillip if they at least get it down to double figures and then see how much further they can get it down.
England have lost Jason Roy. He's gone for 17, 28 for 1, 7th over, so that 242 target could still be testing. Harmer in. Hallandorby defends. It did go up in the air a little bit, but nowhere near a fielder. Having survived a siddle over, this will be an examination for Hallandorby as well. A spin of Harmer, 2 slips and a short leg. He defends that down reasonably well. The backward point.
Yes, his limbs tended to move in all sorts of directions there before he played the ball. But
Bambi style.
Yes.
4 deliveries to get to tee, though. Although actually we'll carry on, won't we?
Yep.
That's left and taken by the wicket-keeper. We'll have a delayed tee. 9 wickets are down.
Yeah, actually there'd still be this and 2 further overs up to tee. 61 have been bowled.
So you're right, yeah, right, yes. But anyway, he defends that to the offside. There's no run. Best policy is to wait until the players walk off, and then
yes.
you know. 141 for 9. Can they get the deficit down to double figures? Need 5 more to do that. That one goes past. That was a quicker ball, goes past Hallandorby, taken by the wicket-keeper. There's no run. Harmer sends people out in the deep, inviting Hallandorby to take a single. Loops that one up. Hallandorby pushes it out. Possibly could have got a single there, but doesn't take it. Bit of kidology going on. He doesn't take it. Point walks very slowly to the ball. He still doesn't take it. And the end of the over from Simon Harmer as a maiden, but Warwickshire survive it. 141 for 9. Is it Dickie's turn to come in now? How do you want to play this? I suggest you wait until the next 2 overs are bowled. Okay.
Because Dick was saying that we take it up to tee, so swap over if the wicket hasn't gone down.
Right, okay.
At the 64 over point seems fair. And good description of yours, Bambi style, to describe Hallandorby's approach. He looks like a creature about to go down.
Yeah.
But fair play to him. He's seen out and over of Simon Harmer. Not everyone can say that this season.
So it's Chetan Patel on strike for Siddle, just the 2 slips and plenty of room for him to take a single. Essex invited him to do that, and he's accepted the invitation, although he might be able to make that 2. He does, so that's well played by Patel. All the fielders back, so Chetan Patel's managed to play it into a gap and say, okay, I'll have 2 then, thank you very much. 143 for 9. And, runs Warwickshire just desperately trying to eke out 9 runs for the last wicket so far. Sid looking for his 6th wicket, and Chetan Patel leans back, and this time it will just be a single, but he does take it. So that gives Siddle potentially 4 balls to bowl at Hallandorby. Warwickshire 144 for 9.
Yeah, you see less and less of this business of the surviving top order batsman, or at least senior batsman, protecting a number 11 from the strike. Certainly when Essex are playing, there's really no mercy shown.
Yes, I mean, I don't think G-Tempers... he's got first-class centuries. He is a more senior batter than Alistair Cooke, but he probably feels he's not really that much more likely to score runs to make it worthwhile. Siddle into bowl. Hannon Dolby plays, just rolls off his bat, lands near his feet. His best effort, Hannon Dolby, this season was at Taunton, and Warwickshire needed 98 for the last wicket, with Sam Hain playing brilliantly at one end, and Hannon Dolby battled hard at the other end. Got halfway there before he was eventually out.
Surrey have lost the 4th wicket.
Yes.
78 for 4. Yorkshire go on and on. 515 for 9. And, of course, typical Yorkshire reaction would be, well, you put us in.
In comes Siddle. Round the wicket to bowl. And that's hit uppishly, but it is safe for Hannon Dolby, and he will get a couple of runs, or at least one. He'll get... No, they decide they're going to settle for one. Possibly were 2 there, but anyway, they've taken 1. 145 for 9. Can they get to what would have got them a bonus point many years ago? 150. Old enough to remember the days 150 got you a point.
Well, I certainly am. Yes, yes, that's right. Of course, 3-day cricket at the time.
Yes, that's right. In comes Siddle, that's played the offside. There's no rush. That's all right. I didn't really like the 3-day cricket. I know. It's just in this sort of match situation, Warwickshire will be in a position now. The longer they bat, Essex will be in a bit of a quandary as to what to set them, wouldn't they? If it was going to be a 3-day game, and it would rather allow Warwickshire back into the game, whether they deserve it or not. But anyway.
Going back even further, of course, there used to be a number of runs given for first innings points given,
yes.
First innings lead. Yeah,
I think those points would be safely going Essex's way if that was the case here. They've got, of course, the maximum bowling points. Warwickshire got maximum bowling points, but no batting points thus far. And G-Tan Patel ducks underneath that one, ducks under it well, and he has survived the over. Well, we're still going.
Yep. So there's one more over to the...
the magic 64, alright then. I'm just worried that Dickie's not really earning his money. But,
Oh, no one to worry about that. Dick and I have a saying, as long as the cheque's in the post.
145 for 9, Warwickshire. They've shown some battle in this innings, but they've been up against it from the start, and I have to say I'm not hugely surprised. However, Simon Harmer into Alistair Dolby has been pretty accomplished so far, and that one, he sweeps at that one, and the fielding error as well has got him a run, which he sort of deserved for the audacity of the shot, really. It should have been stopped, it shouldn't have been a run, and Simon Harmer's not very amused because it's got the number 11 off strike, and I think the fielder there, I don't know who that is, but if I were him I'd avoid eye contact with Harmer.
I think it's Peter Siddle.
Yes, yeah, it is. Well, there we are then.
He's excused.
Yes.
If you've got a 5-wicket haul, you're excused all fielding errors.
Harmer won't forgive him. No, that one is looped up and he's played back to him. There's no run. He'll be saying you just deliberate so you get the wicket. 146 for 9, Warwickshire. So they have got the deficit down to 100. Can they get it down to double figures?
To 99.
No, it is 99, isn't it?
Yeah.
They've done it. Hooray. Well, where was the standing ovation? That one's played a backward point for no run.
Yes, afraid a standing ovation isn't that easily acquired here at Chelmsford.
So 99 the deficit. Ball them out for 100, score 200, win the game. Easy.
Simple.
Harmer into bowl to Patel. Quicker ball. Patel's lofted that. It is safe, and it's actually dissected 2 fielders on the boundary. It's a good shot from G-Tan Patel, and Warwickshire have brought up the 150. 150 for 9 in the 64th over.
Well, a game of, from the fielding side's point of view, irritating last wicket stands, with the second highest partnership of the innings for Essex yesterday between Beard and Quinn. And Patel can certainly bat, so not impossible that this might be a stand that at least is sort of second or third priority for Warwickshire.
He defends that one. Let's have a look. 150 comes in 383 balls. They lost 4 wickets for the third 50. I'll tell you how many balls they got it in a moment. I think it probably took them quite a while. It took them, yes, 121 balls. That third 50 lost 4 wickets. The second 50 took 98, but they only lost 1 wicket in that time. Harmer bowls, and that's a full toss, which Patel says dispatched through the offside for 4. Frankly, the ball got what it deserved. And the ball is rather apologetically rolling over the rope, but it has got there.
Yeah, it's not been one of Simon Harmer, or remotely one of Simon Harmer's better performances today. Well, Clive, we'll love you and leave you at this point, because we've reached the 64 overs. And Essex haven't managed to take this last wicket.
I bet he gets 1 ball to talk about now, and then he'll be off on a break again.
Yeah, we must very reluctantly welcome Dick back to the microphone here, with Warwickshire rallying. 20 runs put on already for this last wicket. And Patel has 18, Hannon Dolby 5. And you'd have to say that the runs have come pretty quickly in this last wicket partnership, and without too much of a suspicion that the last wicket was going to go down of its own accord, as Hannon Dolby has defended stoutly and Patel has helped himself to 18 runs. Dick?
Yes, but nonetheless Essex are in a very good position, aren't they? So
as long as they get the final wicket before too much longer.
Yes. Well, I'm saying they are at the moment in a very good position.
Yes. But,
I'm not Mystic Meg.
No, I don't think anyone's ever accused you of that. So Aaron Beard is taking over from Peter Siddle at the Hayes close end, and I think Siddle will be happy with his 5-wicket haul. He's bowled superbly, but Beard now into attack, see if he can pick up his second wicket. 1 or 2 discussions going on in the field that Beard will bowl to. It's not going to be anything like as attacking as the one that Siddle was bowling to. We've got sort of a slip and a 4th slip in. Beard is in, Hayes close end, bowls, Hannon Dolby correctly forward. No trouble steering the ball safely along the ground out to Rishi Patel in the covers. 154 for 9. So at the moment Essex are still 91 runs in front. And that is, in the circumstances, you'd think a very influential first innings lead. But here is Beard again, and bowls to Hannon Dolby. That's a leave outside off stump, and Wheater again grimaces in taking that. He really, again, he goes down, he puts his hands between his legs to try and ease the pain there. 154 for 9.
If it was a racehorse, they'd have put him down by now, wouldn't they?
They would. Yes, someone in roughly our position would have been told, as an act of kindness, shoot him. The screens would have been drawn around the victim. As here is Beard again. Bowls to Hannon Dolby, and good judgment. It didn't miss the off stump by far. This time Wheater's able to take the ball in the good hand, and doesn't therefore cause him much pain. 154 for 9, 65th over, and we should now be having tea, but the rule is that if 9 are down, you can continue for a further 8 overs.
Tenduscati coming across to have a word with the young bowler. No, he's not. He's just going to come and give him the ball, which is fair enough. He can't ply his trade without it.
Beard again to Hannon Dolby. Played to mid-on, and he might just there, Tenduscati, have sort of said Yorker, something like that, a one-word piece of advice, because that's what he bowled, and hadn't been looking like he'd bowled previously. And he has bowled pretty accurately today, Aaron Beard. His figures are 9.4 overs, 3 maidens, 1 for 13. And although he hasn't had the batsman in all manner of difficulty, but he's been very economical. The most economical to date, as he comes back in and bowls again. And that's bowled short, and it's pulled away, won't go to the boundary. And Matt Quinn fields it, flicks it to whoever that is, Simon Harmer in support, and they just get the 1 run. And 155 for 9, 90 behind now are Warwickshire with 6 to Hannon Dalby. England need 242 to beat New Zealand and win the World Cup. They're 39 for 1 in the 10th over. But Jason Roy has gone, and he's a man who's been in electric form. In a sense, New Zealand will feel that he's the one man above all others that they'd most have wanted to get out. But England have 9 wickets in hand and a modest scoring rate ahead of them. Here is Beard again, this time over the wicket. Bowls to Patel, angles the ball straight to Nick Brown at backward point. And that is the end of the 65th over of Warwickshire's reply to Essex's 245. They are 155 for 9 with 18 to Patel and 6 to Hannon Dalby.
And this wicket has added 21, which isn't a great number, but in the context of a low scoring innings, it's a bit irritating. It's the 3rd highest stand, following the 64 for the 6th and the 29 for the 5th. So none of the others got into double figures. So Essex will want to dispose of one of these 2 as soon as possible. They don't mind which one, obviously.
Harmer, by his standards, has been a bit loose this afternoon.
He has.
26 overs, 2 for 66. Still only 2.5 and over, but as I say, by his standards, as the next ball, a little bit of a leading edge from Hannon Dalby's bat, but all along the ground up to Silly Point, who's Dan Lawrence, and there's Alistair Cooke at slip, and Ryan Tenduscarter under the helmet at forward short leg. And Harmer bowls again, a little bit shorter, flick past the forward short leg, single. Harmer looks down at the ground, annoyed that he's lost the chance to bowl at the left-hander. And that left-hander, Hannon Dalby, now has 7, and Warwickshire 156 for 9.
Yes, and Hannon Dalby is a very tall man. I really appreciate just how tall he is when Harmer walked past him. So I always thought of Harmer as pretty tall, but Hannon Dalby towered over him.
Must be 6'4" or 5", I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
And Patel just takes a long look round as Essex make an adjustment. Beard pushed just behind square on the deep boundary, as all boundaries are deep, but backward square leg boundary. This is a dot ball. Patel plays to Nick Brown, who's fielded to his usual high standards today, usually in this short mid-wicket position. 156 for 9. Warwickshire 89 behind. Harmer bowls again, and that one, Wheater at least gets glove to the ball to prevent any bye there as it climbed, and it was beginning outside leg stump where Harmer has often strayed this afternoon.
He has, all too often. Slight adjustment to the field. Sees Quinn move up at mid-off, preventing a single.
Harmer around the wicket to Patel, who strokes the ball elegantly to deep backward point. Peter Siddle, single. He moves to 19, 157 for 9.
And 1 ball of the over remains for Harmer to bowl to the left-handed Hannon Dalby, who is very tall, as I say, so he can get to the pitch of the ball.
Tom Wesley back on the long off boundary, or just a few yards up from it. And this ball, a quicker delivery from Harmer, but comfortably fended off by Hannon Dalby to Siddle at backward square leg. Another over ends, 66 bowled in the innings. We're now in the extension to the afternoon session because 9 wickets are down and 8 further overs can be bowled in, or half an hour anyway, added on for the fielding side to try and take the 10th wicket and thus avoid wasting 10 minutes between innings. 157 for 9.
Harmer very much wears his heart on his sleeve. You couldn't really say he's a phlegmatic sort of character because, yes, if things are going well, he's ebullient, and he's clearly not satisfied with his own bowling performance this afternoon. He's been scratching his head and putting his hands on his knees and just generally, well, we can't sort of be brilliant all the time.
Now, it's also a thought that occurs as well, Dick. He bowls a phenomenal number of overs.
Well, yes.
Maybe his spinning fingers are a little bit sore, which wouldn't make it at all easy and might explain why he struggled for his line and length this afternoon.
Yeah, could well be.
Because this is the 5th in a row of consecutive matches every week for the last 5 games. And whereas you think, well, a quicker bowler might need a rest altogether, but a spinner, you know, if the spinning finger gets sore, I always remember the great Trevor Bailey, and we both had the good fortune to know very well, saying spinners get tired too, you know.
Of course they do.
Here's Beard in. He's not a spinner, and Patel has clouted him over the mid-wicket boundary. And that's going to be 4 runs. 161 for 9. The deficit down to 84. Patel to 23. And for the second time this afternoon, Ryan Tenderskouter forced to scratch his head a little bit. Wicket 6, 7, 8, 9 went down bang, 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 bang after a very good partnership for the 6th wicket. But now this last wicket partnership proving every bit as annoying to Essex as Essex's own last wicket partnership did yesterday to Warwickshire. Beard, who was part of that partnership, is in, bowls to Patel, retaliates with a bouncer, Patel under it, 161 for 9.
The Essex 10th wicket partnership yielded 34. This has so far yielded, 27?
134 for 9 it was, and at that moment, so rapidly was the Warwickshire tale unfolding, it looked as if Essex would have a 3-figure lead. Now the 2-figured lead is beginning to evaporate as Beard is in. Bowls to Patel, who's at no stage tried to protect Hannon Dalby from the strike. As it happens, Patel retains it in this over because the next ball is played to Nick Brown in the covers.
Yes, quite a defensive field. Well, it's not defence for defence's sake. It's to give the batsman a single. But as he showed a couple of overs ago, if you just lay bat on ball, there's 2 in all over the place.
Beard bowls to Patel and knocks over his off stump, and that is the end of the Warwickshire innings. And Beard continues to have a very good strike rate. He's bowled 10.3 overs, or 10.4 it'll be, and taken 2 for 18, and Warwickshire dismissed for 161. Patel bowled Beard 23, and that leaves Hannon Dalby on 7 not out. Essex lead by 84 runs, and that is fewer than it more than it looked like, being as a first innings lead before that 6-wicket partnership was dislodged, but a smaller lead than they might have felt when they had Warwickshire at 33 for 4 and 62 for 5. However, in a low-scoring game, Dick, it could prove very decisive.
Oh yes, indeed, because I mean, fairly obviously that means that Essex start off effectively 84 without loss, and admittedly their 3rd wicket put on 116, but to start off at 84 below wicket in what looks as if it's going to continue to be a relatively low-scoring game is a very, very useful situation. So if Essex can add, say 100 to that by the close, maybe that's a little bit optimistic, but if they can get up to a lead of 170 or so with maybe only 3 wickets down, they'll sleep well tonight and think they're in a very good position to press for victory tomorrow. But ideally they'd like to bat deep into tomorrow if they can, and really bat the visitors out of the game. So 161 all out, a lead of 84. Tea will now be taken both by the teams, the umpires, the media, and most of the crowd who have appreciated an interesting day's cricket. Thanks for listening, and please log on again in about 18 minutes time from now, which will be more or less 20 past 4. Thanks very much.
Well, you rejoin us as the players resume the field, followed by the Essex openers, Cooke, Brown, all left-hand opening partnership. Essex lead by 84 on first innings, thank you. So 84 in front, having bowled out Warwickshire for 161. Peter Siddle taking 5 for 33. Aaron Beard again, good figures. 10.3 overs, 2 for 18. Good economical figures for him. Not so much Simon Harmer, strangely. Had a bit of an off day by his high standards, taking 2 for 68. And there was 1 wicket for Matt Quinn. And it's going to be Hannon Dalby to open the attack for Warwickshire from the river end. 3 slips a gully, bowls to Nick Brown. Leave outside off stump. 0 for Norton in the World Cup final. Joe Root completely out of touch. 7 of 30 deliveries has been caught, and England are 59 for 2 in the 17th over. Hannon Dalby on what's now one of the brightest spells of the day. Which isn't saying a great deal, but it's brighter than it has been at other times. Probably as bright as it's been at any time, really, as apart from when we had the odd shaft of sunlight. As Hannon Dalby's in, bowls to Brown, easy single into the covers. It wasn't the most convincing way to get off the mark. He almost seemed to be thinking of taking the bat away, and almost inadvertently it spills out into the covers for a single.
It's the best hour of the day weather-wise, really, was the first hour between 11 and 12, when it was more or less unbroken sunshine, but we haven't seen the sun much since then.
Hannon Dalby looking to see if he can get the former England skipper out now. The Knight of the Realm, Alistair Cooke, has taken guard. 84 in the first innings, then played probably one of the poorest shots of his entire career to get out, and the whole pack of cards tended to fall down after that. As here the ball goes through outside off stump, Cooke will have nothing to do with that.
Well, to paraphrase another situation, one of them's bound to be.
Yes. But it is, I suppose, not the least alarming aspect of Essex's, albeit very successful cricket this season, but they have collapsed a lot of time.
They have.
And there is a tendency, once Cooke gets out, for others to follow, almost as if they're purely trying to follow the example of his dismissal, not his innings before it. Hannon Dalby's in. And bowls to Cooke. Oh, what a good delivery that is. Appeal, but not out. That clipped Cooke's pad.
I haven't got the scorecard in front of me to endorse this, but I keep getting the impression, thinking back over the last few months of county cricket that Essex have played, they've very rarely, from the batting point of view, had a consistent batting lineup. It's always, they've mounted scores that have obviously been enough generally to win them the game, but there's usually been 2 or 3 people who've made significant contributions. It hasn't been steady right the way down the order.
No, absolutely right. And Cooke's had a strange season.
He has.
By his standards, not as good as usual, but he has had 2 games where he top scored in each innings. As Hannon Dalby's in, bowls, and that ball left to go through to Tim Ambrose. He got 125 and 90 against Kent, and that was, a towering performance. Without that, Essex, who won easily, mightn't have won at all. And then he got 80 and 47 against Somerset. Low scoring game, and again Essex won quite easily, but wouldn't have done without his contribution.
No, and when you look down the Essex innings, 6, 84, 8, 61, 1, 26, 0, 0, 17, 29, 4. It's a bit of a roller coaster.
Hannon Dalby, who runs in, bowls, and goes through outside off stump. He's an unusual approach, Hannon Dalby. He runs with the hands held low, sort of sticking out at right angles, each one, before finally coming together in the correct fashion to deliver the ball. 1 for no wicket after 1 over. A decent over that from Hannon Dalby, and Essex currently lead by 85.
Yes, so Essex's game plan, well, they probably, I would imagine, I don't know if they always go into every session with a plan. If they do, then today's is just probably to lose as few wickets, no more than, say, 2 by the close, and then reacquaint themselves with what they want to do overnight or over breakfast tomorrow. They've got probably two whole days in which to win this game. I think the weather forecast is not wall-to-wall sunshine, but I think it's more or less more of the same as we've had.
Yep. 28 overs remain to be bowled as Ollie Stone comes in, bowls a pretty quick delivery there. He's known for it, of course. There was a period or a moment 2 or 3 years ago, Dick, where Essex were said to be interested in signing him.
Yes, that's right. Man just goes by as clearly a Surrey member. I wonder. He's a little bit off course here.
Yes, do we need to sort of stop him for a moment and say, excuse me, sir, have you lost your way?
Does this really look like the Oval?
I suppose in a way it does, as here is Stone in. Hayes close end. Ulster Brown thumps it through the covers. It'll, I think, go for 4. It's the long boundary, but it's shorter than it was in the previous game when the pitch was further over to our right. 4 runs it is, 5 for no wicket. Again, it was a quickish delivery, but it rather sat up nicely for Brown there, who's a powerful stroke player, and he's now moved on to 5.
Yes, apropos of the boundaries, I don't know if it ever was thus, but it seems to me, we have in front of us the Sky Television boxes and the sight screen. They seem very long way over towards the executive apartment side, and a long way from the pavilion.
Stone bowls to Brown, hits this straight to square leg, no run.
I know it's the perception is that crowds like to see lots of sixes, but it's going to be a pretty short boundary on that side, isn't it?
Well, you'd think so, certainly. Yeah, because normally, if the TV cameras are here, everything has to be in line.
Yes. Oh, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yep.
Really. Yes, that's why Sky's set up there. But of course, they do. I know the county do like to use a lot of the area of the outfield for additional seating, but nevertheless, it's. Cool, even I could get a 6 over there.
Stone to Brown defensively, a mid-off, no run. The only thing I would say is, when it comes to them actually showing matches, you see that scaffolding to the right of the boxes. I'm just wondering if they're going to, if that's there so they can set up, because that would be far more in line than where the boxes are at the moment.
But the sight, the sight screen look of it isn't likely to come over
that's
much
true.
More.
Yeah, but then it would. I suppose it couldn't be in the circumstance with the current.
No, anyway.
Pitching.
For those who come along on Friday, they'll find out.
Thursday, yeah. Oh, no, it is Friday. You're quite right. It's Thursday when Essex are at Lord's. Here is Stone in, bowls to Brown, and the ball goes through the keeper. And as we were pointing out earlier, if this game goes the full distance, that is to say into the 4th day, there will be just 1 day's gap, and then the T20 tournament starts for Essex on Thursday at Lord's.
Which applies to the vast majority of the counties, of course.
Yep.
One can get too parochial about these sort of things and think that your own county is always hard done by far more than the rest.
Oh yes, no, I take the point. It's just generally true that you've just got a 1 day gap, and then you're into a very different form of the game. Stone's in, bowls to Brown. And Brown drives, and that'll be 4 runs, there's no doubt about that. Lovely straight drive, just favouring the offside. 9 for no wicket, lead up to 93, and Brown has all the runs on the board.
In the days of what was still by and large considered the halcyon days of county cricket, players never seemed to get a day off at all, did they? Because they played a 3-day game on Saturday, Monday and Tuesday, another 3-day game Wednesday, Thursday and Friday, and then a 1-day game sandwiched in on that Sunday, and they played a lot of cricket, 28 county games, championship games. Admittedly, they were only 3-day. They didn't have much of a break, did they? And they were working 7 days a week.
And on occasion, that Sunday game would be a long way away from where it interrupted a championship game. And we can all think of examples of where sides sort of played at, shall we say, Colchester, and had to go up to sort of somewhere like Nottingham, or even further north to play.
I don't recall players bleating about their playing too much cricket, and they weren't paid very well compared with what they are nowadays.
Much less bleating in those days.
Yes, it was.
People were tougher. And here's 2 runs to get Cooke underway as he flips a ball off the pad from Hannon Dalby to deep square leg, and that takes the score to 11 for no wicket. Cooke 2, Brown 9.
Yes, and the same players would turn out week after week after week and didn't seem to get injured. Is it just sort of rose-coloured glasses, rose-tinted glasses on reflection or not? I don't know.
Well, cricket in those days was a labour of love.
Yes.
And now it's a profession.
Yes, quite. Yep.
Say no more.
Well, it's true.
Well,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Hannah Dorby. Bowls to Cooke, a leave outside off stump. Ambrose takes 11 for none. Lead now 95.
Yeah, it's a job just the same as going up on the 7:54 to London every day and slaving away in an office circulating the world's currencies.
I think it isn't irrelevant that, the cricket we grew up with came hot on the heels of 2 world wars, and I think a lot of people are just very grateful still to be around to basically enjoy themselves.
Yes.
And that's gone a little bit now as Hannah Dorby's in bowls, and that's a leave outside off stump, and still 11 for no wicket.
Yes, the whole attitude of society was different, wasn't it? It was far less aspirational. You weren't keeping up with the Joneses all the time. Nobody had much to shout about, and we're quite happy.
Well, yes, I mean, it was multum in parvo. People were thrilled with tiny little morsels.
Yes, that's right.
For Christmas, for example, if you got a bag of sweets, you felt ecstatic about it. Nowadays, only a bag of sweets, that's no use to me.
Oh, good grief.
Yes, people are so much less satisfied easily nowadays as Hannah Dorby's in and attempted drive from Cooke. They're going to go for a quick single, and it's well judged, as is usually the case with Cooke. It wasn't such a well judged shot because it came off the very bottom of his bat on the intended drive, but the complete lack of pace on the ball meant they could easily take the single. 12 for no wicket. Cooke 3 and Brown 3 times that number. Yes,
as a minute example of sort of how you don't have to strive for things now. Everybody gets what they want immediately. There's a chap I know who's the owner of a very successful independent toy shop in the south of the county, and I've got to know quite well over the years. Come back to that in a moment.
Hannah Dorby bowls, and that ball goes through outside off stump. And Sean emailed us a little bit before the tea interval, because Clive and I have been talking about the footballer David Wheater, who Clive had mixed up with Adam Wheater, and Clive was saying he thought he played for Barnsley and I thought he played for Middlesbrough, and we may both be right, but Sean tells us in fact he currently plays for Bolton Wanderers, who unfortunately, last I heard, hadn't been paid for about 3 months, so I hope he's got his money. As here is Hannah Dorby again, in from the River End, 3 slips a gully. Bowls, and it's a handsome looking drive, but in truth it wasn't perfectly timed from Brown, and goes straight up to mid-off. There is no run, another over ends. 3 have gone in Essex's second innings, leading by 84 on first. They are 12 without loss.
Getting back to the tale about my friendship with the owner of a very successful independent toy shop in the south of the county. Yes, we were talking early December last year, which is significant when I say that. And I say, it's coming up to your really busy time of the year. And he said, well, I suppose we're slightly busier at this time of the year, but nowadays Christmas isn't such a big thing for children. Whenever they want something, they get it.
Yes.
And that's it. And I suppose that's true.
Very much so.
I mean, when I was a young lad growing up, Christmas was the one time you got a few presents and maybe the odd one on your birthday, and that was it, really. Now, I want it, of course you'll have it, yes.
Ollie Stone in from the Hayes close end, nicely played by Cooke. He hasn't got all of it, but they'll be able to come back for 2 through the covers, and that takes the score along to 14 for no wicket, as Rob Yates, who arguably played the best innings of all, I thought, in the Warwickshire innings, because although others got a similar score and a couple slightly more, but I thought he came in at the time when it was most difficult and wickets were falling at the other end, and played with considerable distinction. The surprise was when he was out, and I'm not sure actually he got the best of decisions either, so he's a very promising young cricketer. But here's Stone again. In, bowls to Cooke. Cooke a play and a miss, and that thudded into Tim Ambrose's gloves with venom, and that was too good for Cooke. 14 for none.
Yes, it was. Beat the former England captain comprehensively outside the off stump.
And just looking at the latest situation at Lord's. England, I was going to tell you it was 67 for 2, it's 71 for 3. It's at the moment favouring New Zealand without a doubt. Latest to go is Bairstow for 36, bowled by Lockie Ferguson. Stone is in bowls, and Cooke plays this out into the offside for a single, 15 for no wicket, lead up to 99, and Cooke now has 6 with Brown on 9. But just going back to the final at Lord's, Morgan on 7 has been joined by Ben Stokes, and England nearly 20 overs gone, needing 242, a 71 for 3. Someone has got to play an awful lot better than those who've gone.
And our colleague David Brett, with whom I was commentating yesterday, he was very optimistic about getting a ticket today. He said, because I know a lot of Kiwis and they're bound to have 1 or 2 spare, so if he's sitting amongst a load of Kiwis, then yeah, it could be one hell of a night.
He has a vision of him on a fruit stall somewhere in Billingsgate, but here's the next ball. Oh, it's driven back and very well half stop. Now Stone there might have injured himself in stopping. I think he's going to be all right. I think it was just
frustration.
But they do take a single, and Brown moves on to 10, and the score to 16 for no wicket, the lead to exactly 100. But I was hearing, Dick, that all 5 previous games at Lord's in this tournament have been won by the side batting first, and I have to say, someone's really got to play very well for England to win it from here.
Yes.
2 new batsmen, neither of them got going yet, Morgan and Stokes. England undoubtedly do have some good hitters, but I'm not sure the ball's coming onto the bat. And certainly at the moment I think you'd rather be with New Zealand, as here is Stone. Perfectly alright, comes in, bowls to Cooke. Cooke works it away. Typical Cooke shot that. Just punished it on length and just eased it round the corner to deep square leg. Picks up a single, and the score to 17 for no wicket. Cooke has 7.
But so much of the game in the last, say, 8 to 10 years, so much of the game of cricket has been sacrificed on the pyre of winning the 50 over World Cup, that if they don't win it today, then there's going to be a lot of questions asked. Was it all worth it? And not only a lot of time and effort spent and reorganisation of the whole game, but millions of pounds spent.
Yeah, absolutely. Stone around the wicket, bowls to Brown, measured defensive shot to mid-off, there's no run. The 4th over ends with Essex leading by 84, 17 for none, Cooke 7, Brown 10, overall lead 101.
I mean, there are those who would say, and I would quite happy to admit I would be in that camp, even if they had won it, was it worth altering the whole approach to the whole of the game of cricket merely to win one trophy? I have my doubts, but certainly if they go on and don't win it, then questions would have to be asked.
And where's the consistency in suddenly then, at the end of that 4-year period,
8, I reckon, yeah,
more or less relegating 50 over cricket?
Yes.
Oh, by the way, that didn't really matter. That was just a one-off experiment.
Yes, that's right, yes.
Here comes Hannon Dalby. His 3rd over, the 5th of the innings, up from the river end, bowls initially to Cooke, who plays the ball for no run back to the bowler.
But equally, if England do go on and win the World Cup, it doesn't alter the fact that next year the competition is being totally revalued. I wouldn't say devalued, but revalued. So, what's it all been in aid of then?
Yeah, no, absolutely. and of course, if they're going to say, well, 50 over cricket doesn't really matter all that much.
Well, it mattered to you so much that you wanted to invest all that time and money in it.
The inconsistency in the ECB approach is,
yes.
I'm sorry, I have nothing but contempt for that inconsistency. There are that many changes they make that, if you don't pick up the paper every day, you just don't know what's going on.
Grief, no.
Hannon Dalby, what a corker of a delivery there. Beats Cooke, all ends up, just narrowly fails to take the edge. Score remaining at 17 for none, but a little reminder there from Hannon Dalby that I think it's fair to say at Chelmsford this season, it's not that the pitches are unplayable, but you're never entirely in.
No.
Every now and then a ball will do something about which you can do nothing.
No, I think they've produced good cricket.
Yes.
A good cricket wicket, as our friend from Yorkshire, Jonathan Doidge, would say in his incredibly amusing impersonations last week.
And this ball goes through outside off stump. Yes, he was very good. Really enjoyed the game. Talking of Yorkshire, what we wouldn't want from the overall point of view is what sounds like the pitch at Headingley for the current game, because Yorkshire have got 520, and from an Essex point of view, they'll be very glad they have. But on a regular basis, watching a side bat for nearly 5 sessions, I'm afraid, becomes a little tedious.
Yeah, of course it does.
England now...
Unless, of course, they subsequently go on and win, and then they'll say it was all worth it.
Yeah, that's right. England now 74 for 3, 21st over, as Hannon Dalby bowls, and Cooke thinks of a single, sees it's not there, as he plays the ball more or less straight to mid-off. Adam Hose and the score remaining at 17 for none.
Yeah, still quite a muggy day here. I've kept my pullover on all day, but I probably haven't needed it. But it's certainly, well, it is midsummer after all. What is the date? The 14th? Oh, the 14th of July.
Yep.
Le 14 Juillet, Bastille Day.
My father's birthday as was.
Yes.
Here is Hannah Dalby in. Alistair Cooke goes through to the wicket keeper, and no run there. The slip fielders looked as if they all thought it was the last ball of the over,
yes.
but they can't count. 17 for no wicket. We're in the 5th over. Yes, it's not a particularly warm day, and yet it is a bit muggy.
It is, yes.
It's probably only about 19 or 20 degrees.
Feels more.
Yep.
Yes, well, the Bastille was stormed on this day 230 years ago. That would have been before your father's time.
Yes, but not before mine. Here is Hannah Dalby. Up from the river end, bowls, and Cooke is turned round by this, and it goes off a leading edge safely, let it be said, along the ground, out to point, where it's fielded by Rob Yates, and at the end of that over, the 5th of the innings, Essex continued to lead by 101. That was a maiden over with 10 to Brown and 7 to Cooke.
And of course, talking of commemorative events, in a week's time, the 21st of July, I mean, if you turned on your television on almost any channel, you'll be constantly reminded of it. Will be 50 years since man first landed on the moon.
That's right, and we will be reminded of it. They're already lining up.
I was watching a programme last night, I think it was.
Yep.
Yes.
So 3 slips. We'll bring Clive back in at the end of this over. But it's Ollie Stone from the Hayes close end. Bowls to Brown, who leaves outside off stump. 17 for none.
In fact, I didn't... I think at the time I didn't think it was... I mean, it was obviously a great achievement, but I couldn't get too wound up about it. But I seem to be more interested in it in retrospect when I was watching this programme. So I investigated it further on the website. They first landed on the moon on the 21st of July 1969, and then a dozen people have walked on the moon altogether. The most recent being only 3 years after that, December 1972. And so since 1972, nobody's landed on the moon. So what was it all about?
Yep, Stone bowls a bouncer. That doesn't land on the moon either, and Brown safely bends at the knees, and the score remains 17 for none. But it is remarkable to think it's all that time since the last of the what at the time were frequent landings.
Yep, 47 years since man walked on the moon, yes. Well, come December.
Stone again. Comes in and bowls to Brown. Brown leaves one outside off stump. Score remaining 17 for none in the 6th.
I mean, weren't there suggestions for a while that by now we'd be sort of having a fortnight's holiday on the moon and things like that?
Yes, indeed.
Who was he saying, fly me to the moon? Sinatra, I expect.
I think he did at some point.
Many points,
yes.
No doubt. And let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars.
Those halcyon days when people could write lyrics. Stone again. Bowls to Brown. Brown again. Raises the bat high above his head to signal he's leaving it to go through to Tim Ambrose. 101 in front, Essex at 17 for no wicket, having led by 84 on first innings. Warwickshire 161 all out. Rob Yates 32, Michael Burgess 35, Tim Ambrose 38, and Jitan Patel 23 were the 4 men who got into double figures. Peter Siddle taking 5 for 33 in 17 overs 7 maidens. Stone is in. Bowls. Brown wasn't too sure of what he was doing there, but he's going to pick up at least 2, probably 4 runs. Yes, it squirts through the slip cordon along the ground for 4, 21 for no wicket, and Brown has 14.
Yes, indeed.
Aaron Beard also bowled well for Essex, 2 for 18 in 10.4 overs. Harmer not at his best, 2 for 68 in 27, and Matt Quinn 1 for 33 in 7 overs. He bowled 3 maidens, but the 4 overs he bowled that weren't maidens went for 33 runs. Here's Stone again in the 6th over. Bowls to Brown. Brown leaves Ambrose takes the end of the 6th over, 21 for no wicket. Essex lead by 105, and Dick Davis will be joined by Clive Eakin.
23 overs of the day remain, and we've got slightly out of kilter, but I don't think anybody will lose any sleep over that. We've all been doing this job long enough not to worry about minor things like that. So yeah, 21 plus 80 loss, which is a useful position. Not impregnable, but useful. And it's going to be Hannon Dalby to continue. From this, the River End moves in, bowls. Oh, and again, Cooke beaten outside the off stump, pushing forward, fails to make contact with the ball.
Warwickshire offering some threat, but Essex very much in control of this game.
Yes, I think they are at the moment. Yep. We've had 3 emails, first of which from George, whom we were delighted to see last week. Come back to his email after this delivery, which Cooke declines to play, withdrawing the bat at the last minute. Talking about the game, yes, because George was down here for Yorkshire, the Yorkshire game. He combined it with a trip to see a concert in Southend. He made the most of his days from a Yorkshire, well, an Essex band, Yorkshire born, I think, now living in Scotland. I took a strong dislike to the angular nature of the boundary at the Yorkshire match. Surely we can manage something more aesthetic. We did at school. Thanks so much for the privilege. Oh, that's all right, George. My pleasure entirely. And that's outside, way outside the off stump. You think it's somewhat angular, do you? I must admit that's never really occurred to me. One gets so used to the surroundings. Does it strike you as being angular, Clive?
I mean, it's got a couple of straight bits, isn't it, in front of the...
Yes.
I mean, here, the rope is as far back as is possible.
Yes, it's not a complete oval, but I suppose Grace Road is almost just a square, isn't it? That's just pushed out on the offside. It's a vast playing area at Grace Road. Is it the second largest of any cricket field in the world, I think? That's pushed out for a single by Cooke. But yes, I vaguely take your point now that you've mentioned it, but I think it's for the reason that Clive says. Yes, each end, the boundaries are short, so therefore they've got to make the most of it by extending it as far as possible. And then yes, beware sharp turn ahead. You'd need to have signs up for the fielders. Beware sharp right or left hand bend according to which way you're running.
Slightly odd boundary on Warwickshire played at York. It was very, very good job they did there, but because it's a small outground, it will slightly odd shape the boundary.
Yes, that's outside the off stump. I do. I've mentioned several times I'm a great lover of club cricket as well as the county game, and you can see some grounds with all sorts of weird and wonderful shapes to get round obstacles like trees and quite frequently sight screens as well. The boundary sort of does a wiggle around the sight screen, which can be potentially dangerous if a fielder's chasing it. John in Lincoln, regular email, who is very welcome, as you all are. Afternoon all, and thanks as ever. Essex doing a lot better than England, it seems. Yeah, it does. As Hannon Dalby moves in and bowls to Cooke, he lets that go through to the keeper. However, not specific to England, but the World Cup in general, given the number of replays from side on of various balls, I'm left wondering whether umpires actually look for overstepping no balls anymore.
I don't think they do very much in international games where the TV is used. And it is partly the fault of, I suppose, maybe us in the broadcast media, not so much us specifically, but because in a televised game, I've seen it happen, if an umpire calls a no ball and turns out to be wrong, he gets fearful grief from the commentators.
Oh yes.
So you know, you can understand why they think, well, I won't bother then. I won't call it, and if there's a wicket falls, we'll check it.
Yes.
I do think.
And come back to that after this delivery from Stone. Oh, which certainly gets the better of Cooke. Cooke not having a particularly happy time. He's on 8 not out, but he's been beaten several times. And Yeah, I've made a point over the 20 odd years I've been doing this job of never really criticising umpires. It's not a criticism as such. It's not a criticism of one particular decision. But I am surprised the number of times they refer potential run-outs.
Oh, yeah.
It's almost as if, well, I'm at square leg now, I don't have to concentrate. If anything happens, then, I can just refer it.
A little cynical part of me wonders whether they're encouraged to do that for sponsorship reasons.
Oh, that's a good thought, isn't it? A very good thought.
Because the sponsor's names always goes on the TV.
Yes, that's true,
screen,
isn't it?
it?
While they're making up their mind. What a very good call. I like that. Let's just play defensively back to the bowler. But I think it's a two-edged sword. You want adjudicators, whether umpires or referees, to make the right decision. But also it seems, and rugby is my main winter interest, that they it's an exaggeration to say every try, but it seems to be far too many tries. They go to the television replay for the other officials to cast judgment. That's outside the off stump and also beats Cooke, goes through the wicketkeeper.
Well, I think the problem is in rugby is actually less guilty of this perhaps than other sports, but it's guilty to an extent. I think that, and it is again partly the mass media, the TV media, and obviously the TV coverage in terms of cameras have improved, but if commentators and pundits and former players and former footballers are going to criticise the referees as much as they do, then it is inevitable that they will end up having to use things like VAR, because they've created a climate in which referees aren't allowed to make errors. They're not seen as humans who've made an error, they're seen as dastardly beings who've got it terribly wrong, and I think it's lost sight of the human side of the game.
Yes, I think you're so right there, or I agree so much with you. Just has clipped away for a single. I mean, when Roy was given out in the semi-final, Jason Roy. Okay, it was a bad decision, but players make bad decisions almost every day of their playing career. An umpire makes one bad decision, and he's instantly the worst umpire in the world. He should be banned for life. If you read social media, it's ludicrous.
It was also a bad decision after everyone had seen it on the TV
exactly.
replay.
Yes, quite. No, I think they do have a rough time, really.
Anyway.
So, thanks, Steve, for your email. We'll come on to that.
Yates was out there.
And Ollie Stone, round the wicket to the left-handed. Well, I don't need to keep saying left-handed because both these opening batsmen for Essex, both Cooke and Nick Brown, are left-handed. Steve from Istanbul says, as per norm, another sterling performance from the Essex bowling unit. Siddle and Harmer staring this time. Not sure if he means staring. Anyway, starring, of course, 2 hours. Yeah, well, Harmer didn't have a great day, but by his own high standards, he didn't have a great day.
I'm afraid Owen Morgan's out for England now.
Oh, right.
4 for 4.
As just played defensively by Brown. And with Somerset facing a huge total from Yorkshire, draw likely or maybe Yorkshire win, there is a serious glimmer for 2019 Championship win for Essex.
And Somerset are 18 for 1 as well, prior to Yorkshire's 20.
Steve continues, probably need to bat to after tea tomorrow, but I'd suggest a 250 lead might be well enough. Is the spin taking spin for Harmer yet? Thanks again for the entertaining commentary. It's certainly taking spin. He just didn't get his line particularly accurate, albeit by his own very high standards. He had a relatively off day, but we're all entitled to bad off days, but he's still a class act. Hannon Dalby moves in, bowls to Cooke. Cooke's got up runs here through mid-wicket, certainly 2, in fact probably only 2, the way they're running the second there. They're settling for that.
Not so, trying to stay in their game against Surrey. They're going about 120 for 6. That does mean that Surrey got a lead of 244. Not there, not the conditions are like we would suggest. It might be quite tricky for Notts. Ashwin's now got 9 wickets in the match.
So Cooke on 11, Brown on 14, Essex 25 without loss. Add that to the 84, they have a lead of 109, effectively 109 for no wicket. As Cooke faces up to Hannon Dalby and takes the bat away. We've had an email from, I got another one from Steve. He says, no respect to George, but ... reference to the angular comment about the Chelmsford, the Cloudfm County Ground at Chelmsford. I agree with you, Dick, that the idiosyncrasies at local cricket village level or outgrounds is all part of the charm of the game and ethos. So within the bounds of the laws, as long as within the bounds of the laws, long make the slightly strange and awkward continue. Yes, I think it's part of the charm of the game, really, but that's a thick inside half of the bat on the ball. It trickles back to the bowler. Certainly wasn't where Cooke was aiming. There was an enormous great gap on the offside. There's a backward point, in fact, from the look of it, quite a bit backward of point, and then a pretty straight mid-off, and then there's nothing in that sector of the field between those two, so there's an enormous tempting gap, and 3 slips and a gully ready to take the misdemeanour. As Helen Dalby moves in and bowls to Cooke, who lets that go through. 2-wicket-keeper Ambrose, no addition to the score.
20 overs left in the day after this one, so by the close, it's going about 3 and over. Essex will be something like 160 ahead. So actually, if they bat till lunch tomorrow, that will probably have them about 250, or approaching 250 ahead.
Yes.
They obviously wouldn't declare at that point, but they might have enough nonetheless.
Maybe sometime, but well, obviously, I mean, we don't know. I think they could get bowled out. They certainly had a bit of a collapse in the first innings, but ideally, you'd think somewhere between. And that takes the opportunity of that enormous great gap on the offside and a somewhat wayward delivery, both in line and length, with all due respect to Helen Dalby, and somebody of Cooke's class doesn't need a second invitation just to place that through that large gap. He had so much leeway, even if he didn't get the shot exactly right, it was still likely to go for 4, and it duly did. 29 without loss. Cooke on 15, Brown on 14, so going more or less in tandem with each other. So thanks for all your emails, really appreciate them, especially today when we know there's obvious counter attractions: tennis, cricket, motor racing, all sorts of other things going on. We've got the Open Golf to look forward to this coming week from Northern Ireland. That's outside the off stump, and I certainly do look forward to it. One of my 3 favourite sports is golf, probably second to cricket. I'm not quite sure whether rugby or golf comes second to cricket, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. You don't really care which is second. 29 without loss.
Yeah, Warwickshire at the moment still attacking. It won't take long before I think they start looking to contain, try and keep Essex out there as long as possible. Simon Harmer in the Essex attack, albeit he didn't have his best day today, but by Warwickshire, the latter part of the match will be a big test for Warwickshire.
As the next delivery from Ollie Stone is played, I was going to say handsomely. The shot was a handsome shot, but it wasn't timed correctly, but it still produced 4 runs. I think Nick Brown was looking to get 4 through that vacant cover area, which is equally vacant when the bowling's from the Hayes close ends as it is when the bowling's from the river end, and instead he picked up 4 through wide third man. They look exactly the same in the scorebook, whether it's out of the middle or if it's off the edge, or it goes over the boundary. It's 4 pennants. So Brown now goes slightly into the lead, not that it's a race. He has 18, Cooke has 15. Thanks to David for your email, which I'll read in a minute or 2. And that's played off the edge but into the ground and then bounces up into the hands of the anonymous third slip. Could that be Burgess?
I think that's Mosley.
Mosley. There's Mosley and Burgess, neither of whom has a number or name on the back. So David says, could part of the problem be that rugby and cricket and other sports, come to that, are no longer games or sports but rather vehicles for commercial purposes, referring to the really alluding to the point that Clive very astutely made, I thought, as when Brown just about takes the bat away in time. Keep up the good work commentating on the game that I love. Thanks, David. very much.
They are obviously heavily commercialised at the top level now, but they're still sports. Still enjoy them as sports.
Oh yes.
But obviously.
See, I've often wondered, I'm sure that's a cue for another song, can't think what it is. I've often wondered why it is that when an LBW or a caught behind, no, an LBW decision, that's just played off an inside edge there before it goes through for a single. Whether they show where it pitched, where did it hit the bat first, did it hit the pad, almost everything else. And the very last thing they look at for an LBW is would it have hit the wicket. Now to my mind that ought to be the first thing, because if it wasn't going to hit the wicket, nothing else matters. It doesn't matter where it pitched, it doesn't matter whether it hit bat and pad or just bat. If it hit the stump, if it didn't hit the stumps, it's not out.
No, it's the order in which it happens, I suppose, isn't it?
Yes, quite. So why don't they do that first? So I asked one of the circuit umpires why they do it. Oh, and again it's off the edge. This time it's off the edge of Cooke's bat. So Ollie Stone can count himself unlucky. He's found the edge of the bat quite a few times. And I was told by this umpire, who I suppose better remain anonymous, although if it's the case, he said that's what the TV companies like. They want that to be the last thing looked at because it builds up the tension. Which may well be true. The TV companies hold the purse strings. It seems sometimes an inordinate waste of time if the last thing that after all that it's going to miss the stumps by a good 6 inches. That's nudged down backward of square on the onside. Had a couple more. George coming back about the boundary lines here. This could be developing into a Scottish Turkish feud here. Probably not. I'm sure they're both far too gentlemanly to indulge in that. I think he just says, I think the trouble with me is that I've always preferred a nice curve. Well, yes, I think we all like to look at a nice curve from time to time. So thanks, George, very much for that. And Chris, entitled Field.
We've seen Jitan Patel come in for the first time in the second innings.
Chris says, not a strange boundary story, but I did play in a game where a dog had messed on the outfield. I like the use of the word, very subtle. But the groundsman, instead of clearing it, put a small cardboard fence around it. By the way, Paul, today would have been my father's birthday too. Oh, well. Thanks very much, Chris. So what happens if the ball actually went over this little fence and landed in the offending excretia? That's just played out on the offside, no addition to the score. And which is 35 for no wicket, so effectively a lead of 119 with all 10 wickets in hand. It sounds like a useful position from whichever way you look at it.
Yeah.
Chetan Patel round the wicket to Cooke. Cooke goes forward solidly, trickles out on the offside. Understandably fairly attacking field, a bat pad just in front of square and very close, and 2 slips and a pretty short mid-off, not short enough to merit wearing a helmet, and a backward point to whom that's pushed.
I suppose Warwickshire will hope maybe the pitch slows down. If it doesn't take too much turn, could they, and if it slows down and behaves itself, could they bat out 4.5 sessions to save the game potentially?
Yes.
It'd be difficult.
There's that's nudged down to backward point and they pick up a single.
They probably have to do some damage to Simon Harmer's fingers for
yes.
that to be possible, but anyway.
A little bit malevolent, but
not deliberately.
No, I realise that. So Patel to bowl to Nick Brown, left-handed, as I keep saying, but it's important really because off breaks to the left-hander are therefore leg breaks with 2 slips lurking. It's a favoured approach by Simon Harmer, who loves bowling to left-handers. Well, any off-spinner would, of course. But, the ball moving away from the bat is always more difficult to play than the ball moving into the bat. because you've got no second line of defence, and Brown goes onto the back foot and just plays that back to the bowler. End of the over. 36 without loss, a lead of 120.
England 98 for 4 now after 26 overs, chasing that 2-4-2 to beat New Zealand. Warwickshire, and then final block of championship matches comes along in sometime in the winter, around September time. They will have 3 at home, 1 away. The away one being at Trent Bridge, so they will hope home advantage counts for something at the end of the season. It is doing in the first division at the moment, though not in the second division. It's in the first division, 16 home wins, 9 away wins. Second division, 6 home wins, 16 away wins. Ollie
Stone moves in. Cooke plays off his toes for certainly one. They're coming back for a comfortable second run out to deep mid wicket in front of the pavilion, in front of which the area is maybe a third occupied. It's never been full all day, and maybe 1 or 2 people drifting off to.
Yeah, it's been a decent gathering under the circumstances.
Oh yes, not a bad crowd at all. And in front of us at the Riverside stand, is well, it's the most favoured position, so understandably that's just about half full probably. As that's played defensively, trickles out in the offside.
So I presume Essex have only got 1 more home championship game after this. If this is the 6th, is it?
Oh dear, I know you've got me.
I heard Paul say they've won 5 out of 5 this season.
They've certainly got Surrey at home. We haven't entertained Mark Church here this year. Yes, that may be the case. I'll have a look as Stone moves in and bowls, and Cooke plays defensively. Just have a quick look. I've got this on my fairly easily accessible.
I'm presuming none of your away teams are going to give you a turning pitch.
No, you wouldn't have thought so, would you? Not with the.
I don't think Taunton are going to produce one of their. I know they got a couple of spinners, but I still be surprised if they should.
No, it'd be interesting
to
see
burner for you.
If it's vital, as it may well be. It'll be interesting to see what they do produce. As that's played handsomely, but well stopped. A diving cover point. So
Rob Yates there making the stop.
So after this game, championship game, they've got Kent away from the 18th of August, and then Warwickshire away on the 10th of September, then Surrey at home here the 16th of September, and then finishes up at Taunton on the 23rd. That's outside the off stump. Yes, so only 1 more home championship game after this, mainly because of the switch of these 2 games against Warwickshire, of course. Yes, so the only home fixture to look forward to is Surrey still. So that could be an interesting. Well, they're all going to be interesting, and they're all going to be important. There's no point in saying, "Oh, that's going to be a vital game," because they're all going to be vital. Stone to Cooke. Cooke crouches over the bat and then lifts it slightly just as the bowler is getting into his delivery stride, and he's picked up a single here out to mid wicket, and it also brings about the end of the over, and Essex's score has moved on to 39 without loss, lead of 123.
I presume if Essex do clinch a championship this season, Alistair Cooke will have been involved much more than he's previously been involved.
Oh yes,
Essex championship sides.
Yes, most definitely.
Mean a lot to him, no doubt, if they could pull it off this year.
Yes.
Jitan Patel, captain of Warwickshire. Slightly different ambitions at the moment, realistically.
We were talking about some fans, not all fans obviously, but overreacting. There's social media.
No.
I'm now embarrassed to be English. What a ludicrous comment to put.
Absolutely.
Absolutely ludicrous. As Chetan Patel moves in and bowls, And that's short of lengths played out on the offside.
Yes.
Oh, well, it takes all sorts, I know. That's the theory. But sometimes you have to wonder, are some of the sorts really necessary? And
I haven't lost the game yet, by the way.
quite. That's played out into the covers, no addition to the score. So the sky getting brighter, if anything, although it's getting on for 5:10. There's a few more blue patches than we've seen for long periods of the day. Still haven't seen much sunshine, but we can see the blue sky poking through the whitish or very light grey cotton wool clouds, and that's just pushed out to mid-off, or well, short mid-off, picked up by Liam Banks.
Can't rule out a Nottinghamshire win yet. Sorry, now 130 for 7. They lead by 254. That'll put pressure on Warwickshire if Notts do win that.
Cheatin Patel into Cooke. Cooke's picked up a single here out to mid-wicket. Picked up by Adam Hose, who had a disappointing innings. He was there for quite a while, but was caught by Cooke off beard without scoring.
Never really looked comfortable, Adam Hose.
No, he didn't, did he?
He'd perhaps be grateful for the change in format, moving to the T20.
Yes. Cheatin Patel moves in again, bowls to Brown. Brown, an extravagant, flamboyant shot. He's picked up 4 runs just backward of square on the offside. The ball crosses the boundary now, just by the lesser of the two scoreboards. And it was given more air and just slightly overpitched. And Brown didn't need a second invitation to fill his boots, as they say, with that one.
Warwickshire's looking a little bit flat at the moment. It's understandable. There's been a long old series of road trips. They know they didn't get enough from the first innings.
That's outside the off stump. Presumably Warwickshire have their first T20 game this week?
They do, and you're going to ask me when, and I can't remember.
Right,
but,
never mind, doesn't matter.
It's on Friday, I think.
Friday, oh right.
I will check.
So end of the over, 44 without loss, add 44 to 84, we get 128. 120, effectively 128 for no wicket, a very useful lead.
I better find out, because I'm supposed to be there. So.
Well, yes, it might be Durham or somewhere.
So the first one is on Friday. Well, now it's built to be at New Road.
Oh, right.
So I don't know what's going to happen with that one. Whether the New Road will be ready, I'd be surprised. I haven't heard actually what the plan is for that one. Whether there is a plan of changing the venue or not.
Bearing in mind that originally that's where we should be at this very moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brooks comes into the attack outside the off stump, goes through the wicketkeeper.
Well, it might be they can get their ground ready in time for Friday.
Well, let's see what the BBC website says about it.
Somerset have lost a second wicket there, 32 for 2. So possibility of them losing the game, never mind not winning it, is very much there. And the next delivery played out non-productively to mid-off by Cooke. So let's just see what the BBC reckons. Friday the 19th of July that will be. Worcestershire Rapids versus Birmingham Bears at New Road, Worcester, it says, yes. It's down for that still.
I quite like their... I'm not a great fan of nicknames, but I quite like the Rapids. I'm not sure if that's tongue-in-cheek because of the water, or because they want to score quickly, or if it's deliberately ambiguous. Probably. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and suggest it's the latter.
No, I think it's to do with the water. I'm not sure there isn't a commercial element to it.
Oh, right.
Oh,
surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
And the next delivery comes in now and bowled, and that's just worked away on the onside. No addition to the score by Cooke. So Yeah, Hampshire and Surrey seem to be the only. Oh no, there are quite a few of them that don't have any sobriquet attached to
Well,
their name.
it was compulsory at one point,
It was,
and then
wasn't it?
ceased to be compulsory, and 1 or 2 counties took the opportunity to drop theirs.
Yes. Yes, Gloucestershire playing Glamorgan, and neither of those has a
Not so
sobriquet.
sure were the Gladiators, have they dropped
Yes.
that now?
And that's a pleasant looking shot for 4 runs through mid-off. With a diving attempt. Diving away to his left by Adam Hose, but the ball was always going to get slightly the better of him, and Cooke picks up 4 runs. Yes, the other sobriquets we mentioned: Worcestershire Rapids, Birmingham Bears, Durham Jets, Northamptonshire Steelbacks, Leicestershire Foxes, Lancashire Lightning, Yorkshire Vikings, Notts Outlaws, Essex Eagles, and Sussex Sharks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's the 14 sides playing on Friday. That's just stopped in the gully. A good diving stop by the by one of the 2 anonymous fielders. If we look back to Thursday, Middlesex, Somerset, they don't have any additional sobriquet. Right, so that's it. Middlesex host Essex in their opening encounter at HQ, probably in front of a full house of 18,000, is it? Something like that. So that's well, I can't quite think of the adjective to describe it. It's going to be a momentous occasion, really, and if the Essex side, well, I suppose if either side includes a youngster playing his first game of T20 cricket for his county, then that's going to be quite an experience in front of a crowd of that size at headquarters. Cheaton Patel bowling, and that delivery just played quietly and defensively by Brown. Brown on 23, Cooke on 25. Cheaton Patel moves in now and bowls, and that's outside the off stump. Goes through to the wicketkeeper. Just looking over my shoulder, I've totally lost count of where we are with overs or time or anything. There's 14 overs remaining after this, so presumably we're meant to fit in 2 stints.
You've done. This is your 9th over, I think.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, good grief! I must go after this one. Somebody should have dropped a hint. That's outside the off stump and goes through to the wicketkeeper. No addition to the score. Oh, I do apologise, especially to the listeners who've had to put up with me for extra overs. Perhaps you can get a rebate on your licence.
No, don't encourage them.
No. No, I won't. No. And that's just played backward of square on the offside. And although you can presumably pick up online commentaries whether you've got a licence or not via.
Yes, if you haven't got a television.
Yes, you haven't got a television.
And you don't watch iPlayer on your computer, then
yes,
you can
right.
listen.
So I feel exonerated just about, albeit grasping at straws. Oh, and that's a good delivery, which Brown didn't play with total confidence, but he smothered the spin and is still there. 48 without loss, plus 84, 132 lead. Cheaton Patel, 1 ball of this over remains. If he's got 5/6 of a maiden so far, and that has rather ruined it from Patel's point of view. It was short of a length outside the off stump, cracked away for 4, just in front of square. I've outstayed my welcome. 50 is brought up. Essex 52 without loss after a few more words from Clive. He'll be joined by Paul Newt.
So 50 in 90 balls, which makes it the quickest first 50 of the match. Essex took 143 in their first innings. Warwickshire took 164 in theirs, and it is also the first 50 partnership for an opening wicket in the match. And it really does confirm that Essex are firmly in control in this game. And that's a nice drive for nothing by Cooke into the offside off the bowling of Henry Brooks. Dare I ask if England are rallying at 114 for 4?
They need to.
They do need to.
Up to over 6 and over required now. Not that that's necessarily intimidating, but Stokes and Butler have got to manage something between them, you'd feel, to get England a lot closer.
It's all set up for Chris Wokes to win it.
Indeed, let's hope he does.
Brooks comes into bowl, and that's left outside off stump, and there's no run.
Curiosity for you, actually, I think, Clive, is that in neither the semi-final nor today did Chris Wokes, who's been outstanding with the ball, bowl his full 10 overs.
No.
And it's hard to know why, because he was very economical and he kept getting wickets.
Henry Brooks, the first 2 wickets of the first innings, comes in the bowl. That's carved away by Cooke. Looked an elegant shot, but he obviously didn't quite time it so well, and it's gone straight to Yates for a stop. And there's no addition to the score. Plenty of time for Essex. I suppose get a lead of around 300, which would be more than enough. But when you're declaring, you don't declare on what's enough. You declare on what's more than enough, don't you? So
yep.
Brooks right arm over bowls, and Cooke pushes out to the offside. There's no run.
Still some good deliveries being bowled, but these two have, I think, done well to negotiate the new ball.
Brooks is getting a warning, I think, for his follow through there. Umpires signalling to each other. And Brooks right arm over, 2 slips and a gully, and that's attempt to cut at that from Brown, and he misses it. Tim Ambrose takes it behind the stumps. Perhaps a little unlucky not to have made a breakthrough so far, but these two got Essex off to a good start.
Yeah, it is a good start. Cooke, a loose shot though from him there.
It was Cooke. I think I might have said Brown, I meant Cooke.
It's rather late on it.
25 to Alistair Cooke, Sir Alistair Cooke. Henry Brooks comes into bowl, and that's play back down the pitch. He deflects it, does Brooks, and there's no chance of a run. End of the over. 52 without loss. It was a maiden for Henry Brooks. And really, this is all just sort of setting up what will be the denouement of the match. Warwickshire's second innings. Can Essex bowl them out to win the game?
Well, probably they will, because they certainly, if their record erstwhile at Chelmsford is anything to go by this season, even when they don't look like taking wickets, they somehow manage to get them. But we'll see.
Jitan Patel with a little skip gives it a bit of air. It's hit straight down the ground by Brown. You'll get 4 more runs for that. And Brown's on to 31, and it's 56 without loss.
So the overall lead now up to 140, and these two have made batting, even though, as I say, there have been some good deliveries, and as Clive says, Warwickshire might well have had a breakthrough or two, but on another way, or on the other hand, there have been some fairly easy boundaries.
Patel gives that a bit of air. I think in the end he didn't play at that one. Brown's gone past him. Tim Ambrose whips the bails off as Brown was leaning forward, but he kept his back foot inside the crease.
Good delivery though from Patel. Nice flight.
Patel bowls again. He plays back to that, does Brown to the offside. There's no run. Jitan Patel, who will captain the side in T20. They kept him out of T20 last season. Or he didn't captain the side, I should say, last season. Patel round the wicket, and that's left. Grant Elliott captained the team. Patel played as a second overseas player. They also had Colin de Grandhomme, but de Grandhomme was the overseas player. Grant Elliott, I think, didn't count as an overseas player. He was a call-pack, whatever you want to call it. But neither of those two players will be involved this time, and Jitan Patel will captain the side. So Agar coming in from Australia. That one is a forward defensive. There's no run.
Simon Harmer will captain Essex for T20 for the first time.
Second overseas player.
Sorry.
Do you have a second overseas player?
Yes. Trying to think who it is now. They've got Adam Zampa coming back.
Here's Patel. That's solidly defended to mid-on. There's no run. That's the end of the over. 56 without loss. 17 overs bowled.
Yes, I know who it's meant to be. Mohammed Amir is meant to be available for 8 of the 14 zonal games.
12 overs remaining here. Lead of 140. Well, be 170, 180 by the close of play.
England 115 for 4, need 127 from 19.4 overs.
That's Brooks bowling, and Cooke pushes it out to the offside, and there is no run.
But New Zealand Clive have just those sorts of difficult, medium pace, accurate bowlers who are very difficult to get hold of, and unless Butler can play one of his specials, or as you say, Woke's waiting in the wings, someone needs to be able to do what nobody's been successful in doing so far, and that's really getting hold of an over or two.
Brooks right arm over, Cooke leaves that. 56 without loss. Somerset are now 36 for 3. They've only got 1 point from that match. So
they have.
Somerset, and they might not get many more.
Well, that's quite right, because probably their stronger suit is the bowling. They've got a superb bowling attack with, a decent bowler in all styles really there.
Brooks, 2 slips in a gully. That's left. If Essex win this game, and they're obviously favourites to do so, they will come away with 20 points in total. They started 16 points behind Somerset, so it's not beyond the bounds of possibility that Essex could be top of the table by a point or 2 at the end of this round of matches.
Banton, the latest man to go to the bowling of Maharaj for 5, and you'd think quite a lot now, depending on the experienced James Hildreth, who's 21 not out.
And this next one is driven to mid-off and no run. 56 without loss. Jamie Porter probably wishes he's playing this game right now, because Australian 11 are 316 for 3 at Canterbury. I'm surmising they are playing on the pitch that Warwickshire used there.
Yes, Jamie Porter's never really quite cut it on the occasions he's played for the Lions so far.
Brooks comes in to bowl, and that's play back to the no run. I have to say, if he's bowling on the pitch that Warwickshire played on, then good luck, because
yes,
you could be the best bowler in the world, you'll struggle to get wickets on that.
Well, that's right, and the point would be, stick him on at the Hayes close end here, and he's unplayable a lot of the time, absolutely outstanding. But, in terms of international appearances, you very often don't get the choice of ends, you very often don't get the new ball even when you first try and go in, so it's not easy.
Brooks bowls, and that's left, taken by wicketkeeper Tim Ambrose. End of the over. Warwickshire trying to keep it tight as best they can. 56 without loss. Ultimately, it might be a case of trying to keep Essex batting for as long as possible. Obviously, they'd like to bowl them out, but they can't bowl them out, then at least force them to keep batting before they feel comfortable to declare tomorrow.
Good progress by England in the last over. They've moved on to 125 for 4, so they're past halfway now. Mind you, there are only 18.2 overs left. That's 110 deliveries to get 117.
Chetan Patel in again. He plays back to that. There's Brown, goes out the offside. There's no run.
Just giving you the individual scores there. Roy made 17, Bairstow 36, Root 7 off 30 deliveries, Morgan 9, but Stokes and Butler are both 21 not out.
In comes Patel round the wicket. That's a 4 defensive onto the onside. No run. Patel dries his hands on the pitch. Slightly frustrated man, but he keeps coming back. He might be the happiest man in the Warwickshire changing room, the way things are going at Lords when we get to the end of the day.
Well put.
It'll skip from him, and he bowls. That's going down the leg side. That would have been a wide in the World Cup. Tim Ambrose Whitsey bails off. Brown doesn't make contact. And probably, if it had been a World Cup, we'd be reviewing that attempted stumping now, even though everyone knows he's probably not out. 56 without loss. Essex bowled Warwickshire out for 161 earlier to give themselves a first innings lead of 84. That's bowled by Patel and pushed out to the offside for no run.
So Essex will be reasonably happy, I think, well, in fact, extremely happy with their day, managing to, again, make what looked an inadequate total of 245 look quite decent by bowling Warwickshire out for 161.
Patel gives that a bit of air. It's left, taken by Tim Ambrose. Still got 3 men round the bat, so he's still attacking Jitan Patel, but he'll be pleased that he's stemming the flow of runs as well. Round the wicket he comes, bowls, and that's just nudged onto the leg side. That'll be cut off by mid-on, Adam Hose. And there's no run, end of the over, 56 without loss. And 19 overs bowled.
So, yes, England latest score 128 for 4. And about 18 overs left to go there.
Sun shining now, best weather of the match so far, pretty much. Henry Brooks bowling to Sir Alistair Cooke. Jitan Patel takes a bit of advice from the other elder statesman of the team. Tim Ambrose, he trots off to field at covered as Jitan. 2 slips in the gully in place now. Brooks to Cooke. Cooke drives at that one, plays it to mid-on. There's no run.
Epic final at Wimbledon with 2 sets all. Djokovic and Federer. Djokovic has been 1 set to the good and then 2-1 to the good. It's 2 games all in the final set. And remarkably, the 37-year-old Federer still showing that he has extraordinary, not only athleticism, but stamina.
Brooks striding for this first wicket. There was an edge there, flown past second slip. It's going to go down for 4. It was, I think, grounded by the time it reached the slip cordon. 4 more runs then. So that just breaks the shackles off a little bit. 60 without loss.
And Lewis Hamilton's won his 6th British Grand Prix at Silverstone. England now need 113 runs from 17.2 overs. 104 balls left, 113 runs needed, 129 for 4 in 32.4.
Henry Brooks bowls, and that's clips onto the leg side. There's going to be runs here. It will be cut off. They will get 2 from Alistair Cooke, and he moves on to 31, 62 without loss.
So the overall lead now up to 146. And very good start to their second innings for Essex. They've ridden their luck as really for the first time today the sun has come out in all its glory, and very, very bright sunshine as distinct from a rather paler version earlier in the day.
Brooks bowls left by Cooke, taken by Ambrose.
Just looking elsewhere, Somerset 45 for 3, replying to Yorkshire's 520 all out, and worth noting that Somerset require 371 as they save the follow-on mark. That could take a bit of reaching.
Both Panthers on 31, 62 on the board. No extras given away then by Warwickshire. That's pushed out to the offside. There's no run. Jitan Patel quickly onto it.
Yeah, although they're on the same score, but Cook's had a lot more of the strike. He's faced 71 deliveries for his 31, whereas Brown's only had 48.
Well, you're probably saying to Brown, look, they've paid to watch me, not you.
Yes.
Well, I'll take the strike, thank you very much.
Brown will say back to him, no, they've seen more than enough of you over the years.
He comes in now. Brooks, and just drops a bat on that. Looking to see if he could find a quick single. He couldn't. That's the end of another over.
Well, I must admit I'm a little bit surprised, Clive, that we've yet to see the first innings destroyer from a Warwickshire point of view. Will Rhodes, extraordinary figures of 5 for 17, and he had a little spell with Essex 3 seasons ago. Didn't cut much of a sort of image then, but he's did very well. He destroyed the Essex first innings after they'd been 157 for 2. So with no wicket down, about time he was brought into the attack, I would have thought.
Patel round the wicket, gives that one a bit of air. It's played back to him. No run. Uh, 62 without loss. Encouragement from some of his teammates. Ball's quicker ball, and there was an edge there which just goes past the dive of second slip. He's going to get 4 runs for it, but I don't know if that was a half chance. I don't think it was, but it's just second slip, not quite able to reach it. It's gone down for 4.
Yeah, no, I don't think there was a chance, but as you say, very much an edge, and the ball absolutely sped to the boundary for all the fact it was only off a tentative push.
Patel bowls, it's forward defensive, no run. Sun shining now here at Chelmsford. Essex, of course, clinched the county championship playing against Warwickshire at Edgbaston. That one's played back of square leg for no run. That also relegated Warwickshire 2 years. Well, I think they were already relegated actually, but it sort of confirmed it.
Yeah,
2 years
right.
ago. And Essex won the championship.
Yeah, both Somerset and Essex have to play at Edgbaston in the closing stages of this season.
Patel balls, gives it a bit of air. It's left. There's no run. A bit of merriment down below us.
A little bit of progress for England. They're now 137 for 4 in 33.5, needing a further 105 from 97 deliveries, 16.1 overs.
Surrey also rallied a bit, 160 for 7, lead knocks by 284 now. Patel bowls, and that is a leading edge which goes in the air and flies past second slip. It's eventually fielded at backward point. Nick Brown's a bit cross with himself, but he survives it. End of the over, 66 without loss.
Good bowling in that over from Patel. Twice had the better of Nick Brown, and he certainly just hadn't a clue where that one had gone initially, and was considerably relieved to see it go to ground before reaching backward point about 15 yards from the bat. So Essex 66 for none. Overall lead therefore is 150 exactly. 35 to Brown, 31 to Cooke.
There's 8 overs to go, so I don't know whether Dickie's disappeared anyway. So I shall carry on a bit longer. Brooks bowls, and Cooke plays that nicely off his toes. There are 2 men in the deep there though, so you only get 1 run for it.
Yep, it's just a regulation Cooke flick off the pads, and he could play those in his sleep. 67 for no wicket, with Cooke up to 32, so he's got 116 runs in the match.
Yeah, that's been a positive being here, seeing Alistair Cooke play some of his terrific shots. That one's a forward defensive onto the offside by Brown. Number 10 bowling to number 10 here. Brooks to Brown. Some players, I notice, whose surnames begin with B, like to wear number 13, and they put the 3 and the 1 very close together.
Yes.
So it looks like a B. Keith Barker is one of those. I've seen a couple of players do that. But not Brooks or Brown. Brooks is in now, and Brown just plays that off his pads. It was just on leg stump, and he's got himself a single. To move on to 36, to take the score to 68 without loss.
Yes, the quicker bowlers who had their moments very much so against the 2 left-handers in the early overs, but haven't seen them look in a great deal of trouble. Brown was to Patel in the previous over, but I do think that we ought to have seen Will Rhodes into the attack by now.
Here comes Brooks to bowl, and that was pushed down the ground. It's cut off at mid-on. I mean, I know he got 5 wickets, and I hear what you say, but he is... Well, it looks like he's going to come to the attack shortly. But you've got your 3 main seamers. He's very much the backup
Yeah, well, he didn't half back up in the
He
first
did,
innings.
but that's not going to happen every time. Much as much as Will would like it to. He did say he'd worked hard with Graham Welsh. He wants to contribute more with the ball, and he'd worked with the bowling coach. Brooks comes into bowl, and that's carved into the ground and fielded at backward point. I also mentioned how he leapt in the air when he got the 5th wicket. He did admit, because he doesn't think it's going to happen too often.
No, it probably won't, but well done to him. It was some performance.
It was indeed. Somerset are now 54 for 4, by the way.
Yes.
They really are in.
You often find, if you've been kept in the field for a day and a half, you don't bat as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Brooks bowls, and that's gone well down the leg side, and Cook tries to glance it down. Doesn't. I think it's. Are you ready to
By all means.
return, Dickie? That's probably me done for the day. But we'll be back tomorrow, and 668 without loss, 152 ahead if arithmetic doesn't let me down.
Thank you very much indeed to Clive Eakin. And yes, Somerset's latest man to go is George Bartlett. Court Patterson bowled Olivier for 4. So they've lost all the men who are out at Headingley for Somerset. Made single figures. Abel 6, Azhar Ali 4, Banton 5, Bartlett 4. They're all out, with 2 wickets for Olivier, 1 each for Fisher and Maharaj. Here's the first ball of a new Patel over. Bowls to Brown, plays it defensively down the track. James Hildreth is the one man to get into double figures on 30 not out, and he's just been joined by Stephen Davis, but 54 for 4, replying to 520 all out. Is this where Somerset's season unravels? We shall see. Patel is in, bowls to Brown, who steers the ball a few yards into the offside, and there's no run, so Essex 152 in front at 68 for no wicket.
How many Centurions were there for Yorkshire?
3.
3.
Yep. Harry Brook got there, the third one.
He did get one.
Yes.
I was reading quite. Yes, I knew the other 2 had. Yes.
And Maharaj, who we saw make 85 here a week ago, next ball's played into the offside, got 72 this time. But yes, it was Gary Ballance, Tom Kohler-Cadmore and Harry Brook all got hundreds for Yorkshire. None of them went far past it, but then again, when you make 520, no need for any steward's inquiries, I wouldn't think, as we have 2 slips and a bat pad for Patel coming in from the river end. Some's gone back in again. Came out, had a good look round, decided it had enough, and Brown plays the ball up to short extra. 68 for none.
Essex.cricket@bbc.co.uk. You've still got the best part of 20 minutes, half an hour possibly, to get the emails in if you'd like to. We'd warmly welcome them, as we always do.
Patel, now we've got 2 slips and a very, very silly point. And Rob Yates is the man I wouldn't want to be standing where he is, about 3 yards from the bat, fairly straight on. This time he's in no danger. It's a dot ball left alone by Brown, who remains on 36 to Cook's 32. Patel again, bowls to Nick Brown. Brown again leaves outside off stump, and another over goes by. We're down to, I think, just the 6 now left on the day. Patel 7 overs, 2 maidens, none for 18, and Essex in their second innings leading by 84 on first, 152 in front on 68 for none.
Are we up to date with emails?
Not very recently, so
Chris, have you read Christopher's?
I don't think so.
From Ipswich. Now you might think, oh, Ipswich in Suffolk, that's just down the road. No, no, no. A very hot and humid Ipswich, Massachusetts.
Ah.
There, you learn something every day.
We'll come to that in a moment, but here's Emery Brooks in again. Bowls to Cook, who plays it back to the bowler.
He said, whenever people note these days how few number 11s are now protected from the bowling, which we were talking about earlier, I recall fondly many days spent watching Essex during the years around that first championship title in 1979, admiring the masterful ability of John Lever to shepherd David Ackfield safely from over to over. Sometimes it seemed that even the likes of Hardy, Gooch, McEwen and Fletcher in the side, with them in the side, it was Lever who was the most important batsman.
Cook plays the ball off the hip to long leg for a single, 69 for no wicket.
It was quite often, quote, seat of the pants stuff. At times I recall us discussing with some puzzlement how an Olympic fencer, which David Ackfield was, could struggle quite so much to get bat on ball.
Yeah, just to amplify that story, perhaps the most famous occasion of Ackfield's batting, I'll come back to it after this ball around the wicket now. Harry Brooks is in, bowls to Nick Brown. Brown plays it without timing to Jiten Patel in the covers. There's no run. It was the occasion. It was Hampshire v Essex, somewhere down on one of the Hampshire grounds. Brian Hardy, showing what a player he was facing Malcolm Marshall and was joined for the last wicket. I think Hardy carried his bat, and Ackfield said to Hardy, "I don't care what happens, I'm not facing him," meaning Malcolm Marshall. Yes. I am not facing him. Hardy got 140. And Ackfield never did have to face Malcolm Marshall, as this ball is played out to deep square leg, just be a single by Brown, who moves along to 37, the score to 70 for no wicket. But yes, Chris's email absolutely spot on. In those days, there were, particularly if Marshall was bowling, several people would be as number 11s.
Yes, and he finished up saying, "But how wonderful a contributor to the county's successes he was." I'm not quite sure, I presume he means Ackfield, but it could equally be Lever. No, I think he's talking about Ackfield most of the time.
Well,
now chairman of the club.
Indeed, as this next ball is played back to the bowler. There's no run.
No, he's not. You agreed with me when he's not. He's president of the club.
Okay. For me, president, chairman are sort of one and the same in this particular instance. 70 for no wicket is the score.
Oh, right.
Yes, John Farragher is the chairman, yes.
That's an interesting perception of how clubs are run, but still.
Yeah, you made the original mistake, which is far more serious than mine. As here is the next delivery. And that ball's cut away to backward point, and there is no run. Henry Brooks' over comes to an end, a quiet over, 37 to Brown. Alistair Cooke has 33, 70 for no wicket in 23 overs. And I was just saying to Clive, Dick, the surprise to me is there's a guy out there who took 5 for 17 in Essex's first innings, and he hasn't had an over yet in the second.
No, you're right. No.
Which, if 2 or 3 wickets had gone down, I'd say, well, fair enough. He is only a occasional bowler. Mind you, he didn't half have an occasion in Essex's first innings, but I just felt in the circumstances that we'd have seen him rather earlier. Patel will continue from the river end. 2 slips and silly point. Patel bowls, and the Brown didn't really know too much about that, but he gets a thick inside edge to backward square leg.
Yeah, talking of days gone by, we're getting near the time when Essex commemorate 40 years since they won their first titles, both the Benson Hedges and the Championship in the same season.
Patel again to Brown. Brown keeps a bit low, but plays it safely enough to mid-on, no run.
If you have particular memories of that year, our Round the Wicket programme would like to hear from you at Essex.Sport, thank you, at bbc.co.uk.
Essex.sport at bbc.co.uk for your memories of particularly that day in the Benson and Hedges final, but anything leading up to it, and indeed the championship win after it. As the next delivery, played with an angle bat down to backward point, there's no run. Still slow going for England, 142 for 4 in 35.4. They need exactly 100 to win from 14.2 overs, that's off 86 deliveries.
And whereas the Benson Hedges was obviously secured in the august surroundings of Lords, the championship was secured in the rather more prosaic setting of Northamptonshire County Cricket Club in Wantage Road.
And the next delivery is left outside off stump. Yes, it was that man Brian Hardy again who hit the winning runs, indeed made a century in Essex's successful chase for just over 200 at Northampton, as you say, Dick. And yes, prosaic is almost a euphemism, I think.
Well, it's meant to be.
From Wantage Road, as here is Patel bowling, a shorter, flatter delivery, and well, I thought there was going to be a run there, and indeed there is in the end. It's Henry Brooks at backward square leg, a good diving stop, but he couldn't quite pick it up in time to threaten Cook's progress up to the striker's end, and Brown moves along to 38, 71 for no wicket. We have, after this, last ball of this over coming up, just 4 overs up to the close. Patel bowls. Cook defends and fielded at mid-on. And Patel almost running across in front of mid-on, kicked the ball out of his grasp. But anyway, all's well on that particular front. Just the single off the over. And 71 for none in 25 overs means that Essex lead by 155.
Thought he was having a trial for Birmingham City there, or was it Aston Villa?
Villa are back in the Premier League for next season.
So I believe. Other football clubs available. So 71 without loss, 155 lead.
And Will Rhodes is coming into the attack now.
Yes, indeed. And took 5 for 17 in the first innings. At one stage I seem to remember he took 4 for 6. But even the final figures of 5 for 17 aren't so dusty.
Well, particularly when the score was 157 for 2, and when he started the devastation. I think he just bowled 1 over in the morning session where he didn't get a wicket, and then suddenly took 4. As he comes in now around the wicket, bowls to Brown, and Brown goes to flick a ball down leg side, misses it, and there is no run.
Yes, Brown was not out, not one of the 5 victims, but Cooke was of these 2.
And as has happened so often for Essex this season, in spite of them pushing for another title this season, they're well clear along with Somerset of the rest of the field, but haven't always batted all that well. As here is Rhodes in, bowls, and Brown leaves. That was a very wayward delivery, so much so that it is signalled a wide and the score to 72 without loss.
Yes, I don't know if that slipped a little bit or if he was trying to do too much with it, but it was almost off the cut strip.
So Rhodes reaching the top of his run up. It's got quite gloomy light. Oxymoron, I know. So Rhodes is in bowls. Appeal for LBW.
He's got him.
He's got him. Brown is LBW for 38. I rest my case. Rhodes, I was saying, I'm very surprised we haven't seen him a good half an hour ago, and he has got a wicket with about his 3rd or 4th ball, and sometimes on a particular ground in a particular match, a bowler who's done very little, if we're honest, in his career generally, just can't stop taking wickets.
No, but actually his 2nd ball according to the scorecard, but the sight stream, I'm not quite sure how they register that wide. I don't know if it means it's a 2nd valid ball.
I think so, yes.
It does, yes. So, you get Brown LBW for 38, and Warwickshire have made the initial breakthrough. Presumably Essex will send in a night watchman, but who would that be? Looks as if... could that be Siddle?
It could. He has been... it is.
No,
it's Matt Quinn. Yeah, I saw the 4 on the back, thinking there was a 6 in front of it, which we couldn't see. But it is Matt Quinn coming in, and he has actually, like Siddle, he has performed the role on a few occasions, if I remember rightly, for Essex in the days when he was a more regular member of the team. And I think this would only be about his 2nd appearance for Essex this season. Of course, neither Jamie Porter nor Sam Cooke available. So Matt Quinn comes out to join Alistair Cooke. Brown LBW to Rhodes with just his 2nd legitimate delivery for 38.
Yes, with 10 valid... No, that says 3.4, not 1.4, sorry. That's 22 deliveries of the day remaining. I thought it said 1.4 at the moment, for a moment.
Well, if that first innings of Rhodes is anything to go by, it might not be his only wicket of the evening as he comes in now. Bowls, and that's well left by Quinn, who in some ways might be more difficult for Rhodes to get out, because you were telling me how Essex brought about their own downfall, or contributed to it at least, by playing some injudicious shots, and I think Quinn will be very much minded to leave anything he doesn't have to play at.
Yes, one would hope so. That's certainly his job now, just to stay there by virtually whatever means, as long as they're within the laws of the game, of course.
Rhodes bowls, Quinn defends to short mid-wicket. There's no run. Still England struggling mightily to score at the required rate. They now have 13 overs left. That's 78 deliveries, but they still need 93 runs to win, and that rate now's got up above 7 and over. But they do still have the 6 wickets in hand, 149 for 4, and Stokes and Butler at the crease. Rhodes, Hayes close end. In and bowls to Quinn. Quinn, very correct defensively, steers the ball out into the offside. Once again, there will be no run. Adam Hose with the fielding there. 72 for 1, leading by 156. 6 indeed, thank you. Yes, 84 run first innings lead, which Essex won't be that far from doubling by the close of play. Rhodes to Quinn. Again, virtually the same shot, but except this time it goes to mid-off rather than cover. And at the end of that over, 72 for 1, Will Rhodes a successful arrival into the Warwickshire attack, removing Brown, LBW for 38.
Yeah, I was just seeing there Cooke and Quinn having a mid-wicket conference. Just wondering what game it was this year, when you would know, because it's the sort of thing you retain. Essex needed very few to win in the second innings, and Alistair Cooke went out to bat, and he had with him as his opening partner
Patel bowls, started a new over, played straight up to Silly Point.
Jamie Porter, and Jamie Porter was clearly cock-a-hoop, a lovely fella, and he wanted his picture taken. Look, I'm opening the batting with Alistair Cooke.
Yes.
What game would that have been?
Well, I don't know, because I wasn't there that day. Pretty sure. As here's the next delivery. Cooke forces it, but possibly deflects off bat pad, and in any case is nicely tidied up at square leg by Henry Brooks.
I don't even know if it was home or away, but it was certainly one day that, yes, Jamie Porter will tell his grandchildren, I once opened the batting with Alistair Cooke.
And he probably would maintain that Cooke was the junior partner.
Yes.
Here is Patel, around the wicket from the river end. Gives us plenty of air, but just played defensively by Cooke up to Silly Point, no run. And Patel pauses for a moment. Now will come in. Bowls to Cooke, and Cooke off the hip. As well stopped, he plays it straight into the pads of forward short leg there. Rob Yates, who batted thoroughly well until he was out today.
Yeah.
Arguably the most impressive of the Warwickshire batsmen, 32. Patel again. Bowls a leave outside off stump from Sir Alistair. Score remaining at 72 for 1.
Yes, although it won't be this season, it undoubtedly won't be this season, but I would have thought there's enough encouragement to be derived from the performances of the up-and-coming young Warwickshire batsmen for them to look forward to the next few years with considerable optimism.
Last ball of the over, played by Cooke to backward point. A maiden, 72 for 1, leading by 156. And it is worth pointing out that Warwickshire have 3 rather useful players not available for this game. Dominic Sibley, Sam Hain, and of course Chris Wokes. And those 3 would make the side very much stronger.
Yes, to continue the point I was making is that, for example, Liam Banks, okay, he only got 8, but he looked very good. I know it sounds a bit silly to say he looked very good for 8. There were 2 shots which on another day would have doubled his score, and Rhodes we know is a class act. Yates looked very good. Adam Hose will come good, of course.
Rhodes is in, bowls to Quinn, solidly in behind this one, plays it back to the bowler.
So I think there's plenty of reason for optimism, as I say. Obviously not regarding this season, but maybe 2 or 3 years down the road.
Very much so, and at least Warwickshire, after an awful start where you thought, well, they're going to go straight back down again, but no. 10 points from the first 3 games, but done very well since then, whereas Nottinghamshire just seemed to be going down and down as this ball goes through outside off stump. Quinn leaves it, bowled by Rhodes, and now we're in the penultimate over of the day. 72 for 1 up on the board, and in their different ways both Cooke and Quinn now I think are solely concerned with trying to make sure they're still there for the morning.
Yes. And obviously by dint of who employs us, BBC Essex, we want Essex to get the better of these encounters, but also we're cricket fans, not just fans of our county, and I thought at Trent,
next ball play back to the bowler, no run.
I thought at Trent Bridge the hosts' performance was so disappointingly bad, because it wasn't just, you know, poor shots or, you know, the technicalities of it, but there seemed to be no spirit or in the team, whatever, did there? They seemed a thoroughly depressed and downbeat lot.
Couldn't agree more. Here comes Rhodes again. 3 slips now. Bowls to Quinn, and he squirts it out. They could easily have had a run there, but Quinn sees his job as the night watchman is to protect Cooke, so he turns it down. He presumes authority there over Cooke. A little bit of a spurt from England in the last few deliveries. They moved on to 162 for 4 in 39 overs. They therefore require exactly 80 from the last 11, with Stokes on 41 from 83 deliveries and Butler 36 from 64. But it's been really tough going. They're going to have to play very well to get England over the line. Rhodes is in, bowls to Quinn, a leave outside off stump.
And you can't help but come to the conclusion, it might be a rushed or rash conclusion to which one's arriving, but the idea of, you know, bringing in a lot of players from neighbouring clubs and trying to build a team, you build a collection of talented players, but that's not the same as building a team. And the best sides are those who, even if they're only in their early teens, come back to in a while. Rhodes
bowls to Quinn. Defends well up to short mid-wicket. We have 1 over left, with Essex still 72 for 1, leading by 156.
Who, even if they're only in their early 20s, I meant to say, nevertheless, they've played cricket with each other for half a dozen or more years, because they've come through the system. They know each other inside out. There's a good spirit in the side. And that's that sort of unquantifiable thing called team spirit, which I think is worth, you know, oceans of runs and oodles of wickets.
No, absolutely. I mean, I'm surprised in that Nottinghamshire acquired one of the leading coaches in the country, Peter Moores, formerly coach of England, and can't understand why he hasn't concentrated more on producing the local talent. No. Because that surely is one of the foremost requirements. Patel is in. Last over of the day, bowls. Cooke comes down a tad late, but not to matter, as he plays it up to Dan Mosley at silly point, and no run, and I don't think Cooke will be particularly looking to score unless he gets a really poor delivery here, and we haven't seen many of those from Patel. Comes around the wicket, river end, bowls to Cooke, and again stopped by Dan Mosley.
I suppose in all professional sport it's a results-based business, and you know, do teams go for, yeah, they're wanting instant success more or less rather than investment for the longer term. It's a difficult one, but it doesn't seem to be working at Trent Bridge, which is such a shame, because they've got facilities second to none.
Indeed, as Patel again bowls to Cooke. Well, leaves a ball there outside off stump, and admittedly it didn't miss the stumps by very much, but well, quite a lot of excitement from the close fielders, but I think that's about all they're going to get out of that.
Yes.
Cooke unmoved.
As ever.
Patel to bowl to Cooke, who left that last delivery. And we're going to finish very close to bang on time. Well, this is short, and Cooke, yes, they're going to go for a run here, and no chance of that being out. Quinn was home by a good 3 or 4 lengths there, easing up in racing parlance, and there was hesitation, but they got there pretty quickly in the end, as it was fielded by Adam Hose at mid-on. So Cooke got what actually was a bit of a gimme, Dick. I think he could have hit that for 4 if he hadn't been in such a defensive frame of mind. He's on to 33, and the score to 34, in fact, 73 for 1.
Well, they're clustered around Quinn, but even if he gets out now, he's done his job, because that'll be the end of the day, and he's saved the loss of a more valuable wicket.
He's not had a bad match with the bat, Quinn, and a lovely model off drive here.
Yes.
Plays it down to mid-off, and there is no run, and now we come to the last ball of the day. Very unlikely that Patel will bowl a no ball, as he is in. Bowls and model defence, and Quinn heads off for the pavilion, and Cooke will join him. Essex 73 for 1, Quinn 0 not out, Cooke 34 not out, lead by 157, and Thank you very much for your emails today, and we shall be back with you at 11 o'clock in the morning. Latest England score 164 for 4. They need 78 to win off 63 deliveries at just over 7-0. Do join us again 11 o'clock in the morning.